This is our Audi versus BMW mid-size or compact sedan comparison, and we're going to find out which sedan is the best one for you and what does Audi have to offer and what does BMW have to offer. Individual models, and we have here for you the all-new Audi A5 versus the BMW 4 Series Gran Coupé, previous generation Audi A4 versus the BMW 3 Series, also joined by the Mercedes C-Class. Then the sporty models, the Audi S3 versus the BMW M340i, here also joined by the Mercedes C-Class as Mercedes C43, and more compact, the BMW 2 Series Gran Coupé versus the Audi S3 and the Audi RS3. And then later on I'll also give you a conclusion which one would I actually take home from all of these vehicles, and I hope also to see your feedback about which one would you take. Let's now find out more. Let's dig deeper into this topic here. Let's go. Audi versus BMW in the mid-size segment. The all-new Audi A5 challenges the BMW 4 Series Gran Coupé. And it would be the same comparison also to the BMW 3 Series, but we picked here the 4 Series Gran Coupé because of the fastback opening, because now the all-new generation of the Audi A5, A4 and A5 are merged together, and this one has the fastback opening. That's why the 4 Series Gran Coupé is more comparable. But if you want to compare it to the 3 Series from the BMW, it's more or less the same comparison. So interesting for everyone now to watch which one will prevail with Thomas and Autogefühl in 4K, full screen, full length. Starting, let's go with the Audi in this new generation. Very wide here, this grille. Then the Audi rings are in this case darkened out, but you could still get brighter ones. The sensor really large in the lower part, which can be a problem. I had it now in winter times that there was everything full of salt, and then you lose all the assistance systems functions basically. Then we have here this like a so-called first edition with a nice contrast right here. LED lamps are in 3 stages. Normal, full LED, matrix LED, the ones you can see here. You also have this shimmering effect of the individual LED lights. So they have a 3-step system there at Audi. You also have very cool indicators, for example, or when you hit the turning indicators or the hazard lights already right here. Same also goes for the BMW, and here there's just a 2-step system, base or then the matrix LED as an option. You can also see them right here. We have both cars in gray. This is here a magnet gray with the Audi, and here a frozen gray with the BMW. This is a matte paint. Of course you can go for normal metallic paints as well. This one here, 5,000 euro extra here, this very paint, interesting. And yeah, Leah's shaking her head. Yeah, but it's cool, right? The matte paints are cool, definitely. The grille here with the 4 Series, way more spectacular than with the 3 Series. So this is a main difference, 4 Series and 3 Series. The 4 Series gets the more extravagant front grille here, but you can see they are kinda different in the front already here from design. But of course, design is a matter of preference and taste always. Which one do you prefer from the first sight? Already tell me in the comments. The length, this becomes interesting. The new generation of the A5, which is A4 and A5 at the same time. It's a little bit longer now, 4.83 meters or 190 inches, which is 5 centimeters or 2 inches longer than our 4 Series here today, and most of that, about 4 centimeters, goes into the wheelbase. So I'm looking forward if the longer wheelbase in the A5 will somehow be a different driving experience than later on. Of course, everything with German Autobahn for you. You can see it has this, on the one hand, classic sedan shape, but a little bit more sensual. And that is this mix between A4 and A5. And from the liftback opening soon, it's more an A5, but from the doors, which have a frame, it's more an A4. Yeah, that's also different than 3 Series to 4 Series. 3 Series with the frames, 4 Series frameless, also going to show you very soon. With the Audi 17 to 20 inch wheels, these here are 19 inch wheels with these winter tires. And we also have 19 inch wheels on the BMW today. M Sport with the BMW, S-Line for the Audi, to compare it. So they have both the sporty look. Very nice how the Audi is playing here with the light. The signature goes from right to left or left to right, and then here this is the proximity sensor in this OLED. Is another option here. Then you also have like this shimmering playing light effect. So yeah, Audi is all the way in to play with the light. Again, the darkened out rings, but as I said, They are also available in the bright side, which I would prefer because then you can better see them. Quattro, by the way, you have the badge here, and in the engine part very soon I'm also going to explain you even more about the Quattro systems, because there are different ones available, and it also depends if you buy one in Europe or in the US, and then also on the engine spec which Quattro system you will get. Soon more to that. As for the exhaust tips, these are real ones, because in this new A5 generation Audi says we're going back to honest design and there are no more fake exhaust tips. And the same goes here for the BMW real exhaust for this 430i, which will challenge the 2-liter TSI today. And interesting, when you go for the Matrix LED, like this LED option, then this new 4 Series facelift will also get the laser lights in the rear. Ooh. This is really cool, right? This individual, very tiny strings. Yeah, that says here also BMW laser, so that looks very fancy indeed. Yeah, and as I said, we could also have made this comparison with the 3 Series, but I can already show you right here, this liftback opening is the reason I choose the 4 Series, because that's a more like a more fair comparison. Soon, of course, we're going to show you the whole trunk comparison as well. This will also be very interesting. And then we go quick look here at the side of the BMW. As I said, also 19-inch wheels, M Sport Pack, and the difference is here really that we have the frameless doors here. And then once again the 3 Series would have the normal frames. I think also if you compare 4 Series and 3 Series, this one here looks maybe a little bit more sensual and has these cool features with the liftback and here frameless doors and so on. Yeah, yet again, it's also a matter of preference. Here, I'm not sure if it has together with wintertime, but here the front door, here look at that, sometimes is opening a little bit too late. Maybe it's also an error and this car needs the resets. Yeah, I just want to mention that also when things don't work, we of course always mention that. But yeah, might also be to do with this wintertime. Now it gets open. Yeah, I'll also report that back to BMW. Here the M Sport badge, and that's the first 2 here on the exterior and some of the technological facts. The BMW all-wheel drive, by the way, it will always be classic with a rear-wheel bias. Suspension logic is actually pretty similar. Base suspension, then a fixed sport suspension, M Sport or S Sport suspension, and then we have both cars equipped here with the third option, the adaptive suspension. It's only adaptive M suspension and the adaptive S suspension, and that's why it's also very comparable then from the comfort here today. I can already tell you so far, these two cars have a little bit different emphasis in driving, but more to that later. Let's take a look at the engines right here. I always like that shot. So with the Audi, we have a 2-liter TSI today, 204 horsepower. In the US spec, it would be 268 horsepower, so it also depends on the market. No mild hybrid here. For the all-new Q5, this engine also gets a mild hybrid system. Here, Audi said they want to try to keep the price lower. If I look at the price list, later more about that, I don't think it worked actually. And here with the BMW, we have the 430i, also a 2-liter 4-cylinder with 245 horsepower. This one here, in this case, 6.1 seconds in the acceleration figure, which is 1.5 seconds quicker than this one, because at the time of this filming here, there is no like horsepower-wise comparable engine available. This is the one that came closest to that. And also they are using a dual clutch transmission for shifting. They are using a classic torque converter. As for the automatic transmission, also going to see how that one translates into the driving experience. And from the all-wheel drive system, this is really interesting. Of course, there are more engines available. There are 2-liter 4-cylinder diesels for both. There's the 3-liter 6-cylinder petrol engine, the S5 for the Audi and the M340i for the BMW. The difference is that BMW also offers the 3-liter 6-cylinder diesel, not in the plan for the Audi at the moment. But Audi then has plug-in hybrids to offer, whereas BMW offers this one here as the i4, the fully electric one. And then to the all-wheel drive systems at Audi. So this one here has the Quattro Ultra, so it's front-wheel biased from standard. And then you can also transport power to the rear. This new system here, however, even allows up to 70% to the rear, which is kind of rare indeed. So you still can keep a rear-wheel bias when accelerating hard out of the corner. And when it's more like rolling and stuff, it will be more front-wheel biased. The same also counts for the S5 key fobs, Audi and BMW. Both nice, aren't they? Door closing sound here in this case. I mean, for frameless, it sounds quite good. But of course, since it's frameless, it always sounds a little bit thinner. The Audi. yeah, I mean, in this case, sounds naturally better, but also the advantage that this one here has frames around. Then inside of the doors here of the 4 Series, soft touch on the top part, also nicely structured. Here as well for your elbow, maybe could be a little bit softer. Then nice classic window levers, also here with this slight galvanization, easy controls. However, no felt covering here at the inside of the lower door pocket. Then, since this is the M Sport model, we also got the M entry sill badge and also the M steering wheel here with different graphic in the lower part, real buttons. The base steering wheel now is also with a flat bottom, by the way, so design-wise it won't make a big difference, and the base steering wheel will even be animal leather free. The seats here are in the normal versions, base versions, also here in the M Sport, but always leather free, and this is like in the high-grade leatherette here, and you see the seating depth, the Einsitzhöhe is also good, also has this slight perforation that you have a passive ventilation there as well, and the lower part here can also be extended for taller guys like me. Yeah, and the seating comfort is actually good. This is available in different colors, and in the EU spec there's now also a so-called M Perform text available in the M Sport pack. It's a mix of fabric and microfiber. Sadly not available in the US, but then you have one more Sensatec color. Then with 189, 6'2", there's a lot of headroom left. So yeah, overall, ticks the boxes so far. Cockpit overview, since the most recent model year changes or then the most recent facelift, some things have changed actually. And you have this updated curved screen here, 2 different monitors. This is also different. You have some more ambient lighting right here and a new structure and also new knobs here for the air vents. However, the real climate unit is gone. This went all into the screen. Yeah, and you know, me and also a lot here of our viewers do prefer that we can really turn or press something. You have a nice carbon fiber decal element here. You can pick different decal elements, of course. And this one here is also slightly soft, nice covering, so it looks all like a good build quality. And also what you feel and turn here, for example, manual volume knob is still there. At least temperature always stays in this lower area, and this is a thing I will also compare very much with the Audi. So to click it here, you can actually rest your hand here, you know, and this is, let's say, wide enough to do that. Yeah, we will soon, as I said, compared to the Audi, again, not the most ideal solution. And then it's always said, yeah, but you can then talk to the car. But I think talking to the car is not quicker than just turning a knob. Whereas with GPS input, talking to the car is quicker. So I always prefer the solution for the individual use case. What is better for the individual use case? Then the steering wheel here is actually very thick. So BMW uses more thicker steering wheels. Audi usually uses slimmer steering wheels, shifting pedals behind the steering wheel, and for volume control also here with the right thumb, and you have nice clicking sounds, and you can also control the infotainment system also here from below, so this is still possible, and you have the classic hotkeys, so it's a mix of conservative and infotainment only control, and I think that's still good, although I miss the climate knobs here. Also for your elbow, it's soft enough, could be maybe a little bit softer. You fold this up, a lot of space underneath, USB-C charging with the cable. I usually prefer that because the inductive charging pad tends to overheat the smartphone. There was one remark from you recently saying like opening this while driving is not ideal. That's true, because see, like here, this is more something to open while stationary, definitely, or from the co-driver. Open this here in the front. There is the inductive charging pad I rather not use, and the USB-A charger. And this one has really, really good adaptive cup holders, because they're like, you know, like they have 3 adaptive elements, and so even taller bottles don't fly around and so on. So this is all very, very solid. Glove box folds down like this, also nicely dampened, not too much space. But overall here, everything is really thought through and pretty solid. Yeah, here with the new screens, they brought also some more modern feeling into that. And driver POV, you can see it here. I can control everything on the steering wheel. Here, left side for the cruise control, important for the EU law. Press and hold set, and then the speed limit warning gets deactivated. Then the instruments, they come alive when you start up the vehicle, like this. You can also change the layout, what you want to have, where you want to have it. And there's also a head-up display available, of course. It's not flickering on the real eye just right now, by the way. Infotainment system, as I said here, with the climate controls. This is also where the seat heating is hidden. Yeah, and doing that while driving is, to me, too complicated. Need an easier solution for that. The infotainment system is, let's say, quick enough, but also, yeah, not the best overview. App overload. I like to use the live vehicle view. They can also check out the consumption and so on. There's already a first glimpse for you. We'll also compare that to the Audi. So it does the job. And the Apple CarPlay integration looks like this, full screen. And here when you have Apple Maps, you can also put it left side to the instruments. The same when you use Android Auto. Then it works here with Google Maps on the left side. Rear seating, first of all, the rear doors. It's always beautiful, like also that we have the just the pale window here without the frame in the rear. Then here is also nicely structured, also soft, good quality here as well. And here just again no fabric covering from the inside of the rear door as well. And then gotta say that we criticize a lot also recently about new BMW models, also where they did some coast cuttings. Then we also carry your feedback over to the manufacturer. But you always have to call out things also which are working great. And this, for example, that BMW very early went to use more sustainable and also high quality materials for the seats here. Gotta say though that the leatherette quality in the new 5 Series, X5, X7 and so on is even better. It's even softer than this one here. However, they want to make like this differentiation between, okay, this at the mid-size segment and then the top luxury segments gets even more quality and so on. But I think at that price here, yeah, they maybe could have used also these materials already right here. But it's already good level here. Then putting this one down, this is one thing you have to criticize because these cup holders here, at the moment they work again, but at some point they got stuck and they had to like level them open with the key or something like that. So this is probably the worst part about this vehicle. Other than that, everything fits to each other. Also the gaps individual, the build quality here when you put down the ski hatch and so on. And always a nice idea here with the head restraints where you can just put them up when you need them. Otherwise put them down that you have a better view from the front and to the rear through that small windshield there. As for the space offering, first of all, there's a big middle tunnel. It's also an all-wheel drive model. And then here you have a climate unit and 2 USB-C chargers now. Yeah, and the thing about this segment is, there's not much legroom. Like, at least when someone tall is driving in the front. So you see here, I do fit here with a tall adult, also headroom-wise with 189, 6'2", but nothing more. You know, so it should be, I think, more space. I'm looking forward if this will be different with the Audi, because the Audi, told you initially, has a little bit more, just a couple of centimeters more wheelbase. If this really will translate into more legroom, will it? Well, let's check out the Audi interior, starting with the rear. So we also have this cover here, but it's actually rather hard, just a little bit soft, I would say. Nice integration of the Bang & Olufsen sound system, that looks cool. And once again, here also a new 3-dimensional structure, fabric inside, no cover at the rear doors whatsoever from the inside in the lower part. Also here the fabric setup in the rear, Isofix at the outsides each, and then we fold this one down. Adaptive cup holders, they are pretty cool. They are better here in the Audi than with the BMW. Also nice build quality here when you like fold this down, like plop, like this. And now the big question was that the longer wheelbase, does it translate into more legroom in comparison to the predecessor here of the Audi, and also 4 Series or 3 Series comparison here to the Audi A5. Well, not exactly. So you see that the legroom is also limited. It is like in the 4 Series, so that we have a little bit more wheelbase here in the Audi. Yeah, doesn't translate into more legroom. So you can sit it with tall adults, yes, but barely as for the legs. Just headroom again is fine. Maybe that was even a little bit better in the 4 Series with the headroom, right? So yeah, definitely not more space here in the Audi. Rather a little bit less, but only just like a subtle difference. Here big middle tunnel as well, and also with a separate own climate unit, and if you want also with seat heating, and 2 more USB-C chargers here as well. Now the Audi inside of the doors, this one here is not as soft as in the BMW, but also with a nice stitching and so on. Here then a fabric interior, different stylings are available. Interesting, this 3-dimensional structure. We know from a new recent Bentley Continental. This new field here, with a lot of high gloss black once again, and you see it's one field and then hashtag capacitive BS to control the individual stuff. Also no covering at the inside of the doors or something, also very slim. This is here the S-Line interior, so you have this S-Line interior badge and also the S-Line steering wheel, flat bottom. Here you have, which is nice, illumination behind, but once again no real buttons in that case. It does have a clicking feedback, yes, but you see that is one button field, and then the individual buttons are once again capacitive. Yeah, and then the seats, these are the fabric seats. The fabric is not the problem at all. It's actually quite cool. In Europe it's actually more common also to have also fabric seats, and it is a nice fabric, also feels nice. Just the seating depth, the so-called Einsitzhöhe you see here, it should be more, and that is better in the BMW. It just gives you more cushioning in the BMW seats there. There are normal seats and sport seats available. These are the sport seats already. And then you also have some like leatherette animal skin mix, and also dynamic microfiber would also be available. But the BMW interiors are from base completely animal free, so the BMW is using more animal friendly materials than the Audi here. Here with 189, 6'2", yeah, here there's still some headroom left, no problem. So you get a good seating position, but the ischial tuberosity, the sit bone, is better long term, like feels better in the BMW because of this different seating depth. Steering wheel up and down, in and out, electric here. That's good. And the steering feel itself is quite different in the BMW. Here, this one here is thicker, whereas here it's slimmer. Yeah, and that's personal preference. What do you prefer? Now the Audi cockpit, first of all, very impressive. It looks more modern. But is it also better? That's the question. First of all, you have the possibility of a passenger screen. So either you have a black decoy element here, which is a problem, I at least feel, or you have the optional passenger screen here included in, like, for example, here this has the Tech Pro package. But the question is, this is done for the Chinese market. And in China, the customers do appreciate that. In Europe and America, usually customers say, what do I need that for? So yeah, looking forward to your feedback on that issue, definitely. Then you have this huge element here, which consists of two screens. It's of course a higher screen as well, so bigger than in the BMW. This one also being the newer vehicle. But some also feel that it's kind of like overloaded. What is beautifully done is that you have kind of like this river hoop here in the front. So it has a round structure, and when you activate the ambient lighting, it's hard to see on camera when it's daylight, but I have to activate it here on purpose because usually while driving it is deactivated in daytime, and I don't know why that would be. Yeah, it's due to the light sensor actually. And then to change the climate, they all thought, yeah, you rest your hand here and then do it like this, but that is like a big split in the fingers because you have this hump here, and then it's trickier to do than in the BMW where you have more open space here. So I think it's not a great ergonomic thing to do that here. And you have to think about in the A4, A5, they had the best climate unit ever in the automotive industry with this round metal knurled and then clack, 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 like with a metal high quality stereo or hi-fi machine. This was the best, and they got rid of the best AC unit in the industry to be replaced with this. It's a general problem in the industry. I feel some say it's not a big deal. To me it is actually, yeah, but the solution how you can reach it is a little bit easier still in the BMW. Huge middle console, but also a lot of high gloss black. And I ask myself, where is that feedback channel between the customers, Audi and us? There is one. We do constantly give them feedback, and it's also highly appreciated. Some is being noted, and we see a lot of manufacturers that are taking the feedback you give us. We give them your feedback, and then they do something with it. It's also the reason why VW will introduce the real buttons again. But here, Audi with the high gloss black, that didn't reach anything yet, because look at that. So much high gloss black. We cleaned it 3 times today already. But already again, you see dust or fingerprints or scratches. It's a problem. Good is here that you see the cup holders. They are adaptive and very well done. Also, yeah, fits different bottles. Also manual still with the volume control. Inductive charging pad is ventilated here. That's better than in the BMW where the smartphone only overheats when you charge it inductively. 2 USB-C chargers in the front, integrated shifting lever here for the automatic gearbox. And here, this is also soft enough, you can also adjust different levels, so you can adjust it in height. And then underneath, more space for clutter, but there's no charging possibility here. And I did appreciate that in the older models, where I could put a smartphone here and charge it, and maybe put another one in the front there and also charge it. But here, only charging possibilities then in the front whatsoever. Yeah. One interesting design element is also at the inside of the doors. It already looks quite cool there, here with the Bang & Olufsen sound system. We're also going to test and compare them for you as well, of course. But then even cooler, when I take the camera here from Leah, is when you look at that here now yourself, when the door is closed, how it then aligns there. That is very well done, isn't it? And the instruments, very interesting. You see the digital speed here. This is also the digital speed on both sides. Why not putting the RPM meter here? The RPM meter is now here. And yeah, it took me a while to actually find that. About that. And you can also switch the views a little bit like this. Of course, there's also a head-up display available. In the infotainment system, if you ask yourself, is it reflecting a lot? It does. So when Leah puts her head a little bit lower, then I can even see Leah better than the contents of the infotainment system. Hello. Yeah, it is a problem. It is more a problem on the camera than on real life. It does reflect, but your eyes can focus that out a little bit better. And the infotainment system, I would say, is also more complex than before. However, I feel how the reaction times and so on, I think it's a little bit quicker than in the BMW. Gotta say that. So, and here once again the climate unit.
It's so far away here.
Yeah,
here you can see it better now.
That's the thing, yeah. Here also for the seat heating in the lower part, for example. So it could be easier, everything like that. Here, for example, you can also change the brightness of the displays. And of course, always important to have the smartphone mirroring. And the CarPlay looks like this. Wow, that's a large integration, definitely. Sound system test. Yeah, both are really nice. We have the Harman Kardon in the BMW 4 Series, and here the Bang & Olufsen sound system, and both are pretty good. My favorite setup is each surround on maximum, and then because it can sound a little bit thinner, then put the bass a little bit higher, but just a little bit, not like too much. Sometimes people exaggerate it with the bass. I feel the difference is here the Bang & Olufsen sound system is a little bit clearer in the sound. At the same time, it has a little bit more bass boost. So both are really nice, but I feel like the more goosebump experience is here with the Bang & Olufsen sound system. Trunk comparison, and yeah, this is always a pretty cool shot when both are opening here with the keys, isn't it? Liter-wise, 470 liters for the BMW 4 Series Gran Coupé, and here 445 liters for the Audi A5, when it has not a mild hybrid system. Otherwise you lose a little bit of the liter figures as well. Yeah, but then again, what about the measures? So first with the BMW, about 1.40 meters in width. This cabin trolley easily fits underneath. And the interesting thing is that here the height, even underneath the cover, is about 50 centimeters, so like 20 inches, and that's also carried through even a little bit higher here. This is explaining the liter figures, because in the length it's only about 1.40 meters. This will be longer with the A5. Interesting is that here this is like a small cover, and that's why I could also reach through here. I don't have to go around, because here of these clever head restraints that they that they fold down and you don't need them, then they also don't interfere with the front seats and directly go all the way flat. And the total length in here to the front seats, as we would be driving, is about a little bit less than 1.80 meters or 70 inches. And now the interesting comparison to the Audi. So first of all, in the width is pretty much similar, also about 1 meter or 40 inches. However, the length here, this is about 10 centimeters longer, so 1 meters and 10 or 43 inches. Yet again, this one here is flatter, only about 40 centimeters or 16 inches here. So because it's all the way flatter in this area, then the liter figure is bigger with the BMW and smaller here. Here with the Audi, some space underneath, not much. Fold the seats here, I could also deinstall this one. That would be possible. However, In this case, I have to go around. And then it's interesting because when I fold it, these are normal head restraints and then they hit the front seat. So I put the passenger seat a little bit more the front, this works then. But here, that you can see, you would have to put the driver's seat forward or deinstall the head restraint. So this is a more clever system with the BMW from the trunk perspective. And then here the length is about 1.85 meters or 73 inches. So then only about like a little bit more than 5 centimeters longer in the overall length. Yeah, but both overall still similar and both really easy to load things in and out. Sport mode. Nice. So it was like 50 to 180 kilometers an hour. Really nice. 6.1 seconds is the official acceleration figure. 245 horsepower or 255 horsepower in the US version. Here from this 2-liter 4-cylinder 430i xDrive, all-wheel drive. And in the sport mode we also have some sound actuation, but I think it's well done. It sounds natural, doesn't sound exaggerated, and there was a good boost indeed. So yeah, you can definitely also live with this 2-liter 4-cylinder. Of course, at some point you maybe don't want to go too high in the price. If you think about the 440i, like the M Performance model, but here with the M Sport package, the one that gets closest to that one. At the same time, you can also drive it in a very, very efficient way. I can already tell you here so far, you can drive it when you go like 100, 120 kilometers an hour, like 60, 70 miles an hour, motorway straight. 6.5 liters on 1 kilometers, that is amazing. So like 36 mpg US, 38 mpg UK. It's very efficient yet powerful. That is well done, and we have seen similar results both from the BMW 2-liter 4-cylinders and the 3-liter 6-cylinders as well. So that's already pretty good. Noise insulation, you see we have like these winterly conditions. I was really lucky that in the part where we could accelerate all the way out there, everything was dry. So safety first always, of course. But here, even if we have some wet road in the side, it's actually relatively silent. I feel at least. What does the noise expert say?
Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
Leah agrees. Yeah, so here at 120 kilometers an hour, 70 miles an hour, typical motorway speed is definitely silent enough. Nice. You also have good comfort from the seats. As I said earlier, in the X5 5 Series, for example, you have like a different leatherette quality, which is even a step higher, but this one here is already good. You have also like the seating depth, so also is suitable for tall persons for a longer drive, definitely. And very interesting is, I have the feeling that they have fixed the steering. So it has been a big criticism point with 3 Series and 4 Series always from my side with the steering feel, but I feel that it is a little bit better now. So let's see, yeah, here, fine commands, yeah, it does react. Yeah, then it's getting a little bit more reactive to the side. So in the comfort mode, it's still present, so I think it could be better. But I have the feeling that it's a little bit better than before. And in the sport mode, it's definitely better. So here, let's do a lane change as well, one more time. So in here, I have a good feeling for it. As I said, yeah, usually like Audi and also Mercedes have a better steering feel, at least here in the 3 or the 4 Series. The BMW SUVs are actually better in that respect, strangely. But I have the feeling that it's maybe a little bit better now here with the facelift. So you can definitely live with that. It's an agile car, it's a fun car. Remember that what I'm saying also counts for the 3 Series. That's also the theme of this review. If you remember what I said earlier, that BMW 3 Series and 4 Series is more about the trunk concept. Everything else is more or less the same. Yeah, here, of course, some more downshifting. That is, by the way, a difference between the 3-liter 6-cylinder and the 2-liter 4-cylinder. We had it recently in the X3 where we had the direct comparison also, that with the 6-cylinder engine, you do some acceleration and sometimes the car can just stay in the same gear. And with the 2-liter 4-cylinders, just has to shift down 1 or 2 gears, and that feels a little bit less relaxed in some situations. Here, by the way, putting in the sport mode is always the most effective thing to do the acceleration. There is also, when I put here the shifting
drive lever, you can go to the S shifting mode. And this is not quicker, although you might think that way. And this is also the reason why BMW is splitting the sport mode and the shifting mode, whereas other manufacturers are not doing it, because BMW says, hey, the sport mode is for best acceleration. The S shifting mode is only better when you go some alpine roads, like winding corners, that you're always in lower gear and at higher RPM, that you can attack the next corner better. But it's not necessarily better in the acceleration. That is the difference, and also the reason why they split these both commands. And hey, you know, why not? We have the adaptive M suspension here. Remember, in the 4 Series, it's only possible to go normal suspension, sport suspension fixed, or if you go with the adaptive suspension, it's the adaptive M suspension. It's still an adaptive suspension. It's also an actively adaptive suspension. That means here in the sport mode, it is indeed a little bit stiffer than in the comfort mode. Here, for example, when we're driving over some bumps, let's try to experience that one more time. Now to the comfort mode. It is still a sporty suspension overall. We also have the 19-inch wheels mounted here, the biggest ones. Do you feel a difference between sport, comfort mode and sport mode? Here, comfort, now sport. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you feel it,
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, it is a sporty setup in general, but with the sport mode, you have more, let's say, contact to the road, more perceivable contact. And for example, nice here for this S combination here as well. So here, very nice. Yeah, I think I have enough steering feel with that one, definitely. Yeah, and here also good in the corner. The car doesn't lean at all. That's nicely done. So it is a fun vehicle. And remember, the wheelbase is a little bit shorter here with the 4 Series than with the Audi A5 in the new generation. So I'm also looking forward if that one will have any effect on driving or something like that. But definitely a fun, engaging vehicle. That's the cool thing also about the BMWs. And also in this whole discussion of, yeah, the Germans are done now, German auto industry is dead, the Chinese manufacturers are taking over, and so on and so on. Yeah, we can't deny the new strong power of the Chinese automotive industry, definitely. But, gotta say, in driving and driving experience, how sporty the car is handling, how good it feels, how much fun it is to drive, the Germans are still leading. Can still say that. Nice. Yeah, so much fun. And still good comfort also in the sport mode, I feel. Here now we get to some transverse bumps. If you watch our format regularly, you know that these bumps probably also by heart meanwhile. And so far, there's one more coming now. Yeah, I think it's fine. Yes, Simon. Blop. Blop. It's fine. You don't really strongly feel that. But if you want more comfort, you would of course stay in the comfort mode to have more comfort than long term, for example. And still, if you want more power, you would use then the kick down just like this. By the way, here also you feel that the difference between the sound actuation modes, comfort mode. It's not so much coming when I go to sport mode. But you heard the difference, but it's not over the top. I think it's very well done. So both modes are fun to drive, definitely. So this one here gives you a very good all-round driving feeling. You just think like, yeah, everything is the way it should be. You know, how sporty it drives, how much fun it is. Still, it gives you enough comfort. So it basically ticks all the boxes, plus driving fun. And that's what I really like about this vehicle. Assistance systems. Here we can also put in the most elaborated assisted driving. And then here, distance is being kept. And also the car is being held sideways in the lane. You can also see when this green steering wheel symbol appears there, that everything is active in that respect. And also when we were at higher speeds, it was still reasonably silent. And you always have to remember the weather conditions. So everything that is going on today, you know, with some rain and salt and everything on the road, everything is a little bit louder than usual. And for that, it's still reasonably silent. So everything good performance here from the 4 Series, and as I said, everything will also count for the BMW 3 Series, so it doesn't really matter if you compare the Audi A5, because that one stands now for the A5 and the A4, but it's very well comparable both to the 3 Series and the 4 Series. We have one more nice S combination. We go off the motorway here. Let's put it one more time in the sport mode. Letting this truck go straight first. And we can safely enter right side. And here, by the way, putting in the, I mean, you can tip the turning indicators, but you can also just put them in, and hammering them in is always a lot of fun as well. Of course, I'm a little bit more cautious here today with these road conditions, but here at least is everything dry. But you never know what's around the next corner, you know, so you never trust it 100%. So we go a little bit slower in this corner here, just to be pretty sure. Yeah, it's good grip here, really nice behavior. Yeah, I might think that from the steering the Audi will do it better, but we'll experience that very soon. But it's good fun feeling over the vehicle. Good adaptive suspension. Yeah. What's the passenger verdict?
I love it.
Leah loves
Yeah.
it. That's the thing you want to hear as a driver, right? That Leah loves it. Yeah, it is a lot of fun and at the same time comfortable. So I think with this one here, in this version, in this spec we have here, they really nailed like the exact middle, like between sportiness and comfort, exactly what we would expect from this vehicle. It does deliver. Audi. Dynamic mode. Well, I was like 55 to 115 already. Of course, this one here is not the very comparable engine. Yes, from the base displacement setup, 1.5 seconds slower than the BMW one, because here this one is the most comparable available at this moment with this new generation. Different ones maybe later to compare. And also the US version will be more powerful than this one here we get in the EU. In both cases, this one here, no mild hybrid, because that's a different decision with the Q5. This engine here gets the mild hybrid. Here they said, let's keep it lower in the price without the mild hybrid system. Not sure if that's the correct decision, because we already see a big difference in the consumption, like long-term motorway between the BMW here and the Audi. The BMW, might remember, already said 6.5 liters on 100 kilometers. Here 8.5 liters on 100 kilometers, so it's like 2 liters on 100 kilometers more. So this one here, 27 mpg US, 33 mpg UK, whereas the BMW was like 37 mpg US and 43 mpg UK. So like 10 mpg more. Yeah, so that's a massive difference indeed. And what I'm rating here is really the engine difference, but without the acceleration difference, because as I said, the US version would be more comparable there. But you also feel differences there, because in general it's also good here, but the responsiveness of the engine and also how sovereign it feels, how sophisticated, how cultivated, that one is also better in the BMW. And also some of the shifting processes. Just in the BMW, you accelerate and the car's shifting and you think like, wow, that's giving me a lot of satisfaction. That's how it's supposed to be. But here in the BMW, that's in the BMW, but here in the Audi, it's all good. But how the engine reacts and how the car is shifting doesn't give you satisfaction. That is the main difference. So the BMW to me already leads in the engine and transmission aspect. However, what we have to say is that the suspension here in the Audi is excellent. At the moment we are here in dynamic mode, and we also have the optional adaptive suspension mounted here in this vehicle. In the dynamic mode it's also on a stiffer note, but it's still extremely comfortable. Well done. 19-inch wheels on both vehicles, we have it here as well, so very well comparable. And to select the driving modes, we don't have to confirm something in the screen. I can also select it here, just press it through, and then in the balanced mode, they now call the auto mode just balanced, because everyone was confused before and thought that in the auto mode, which was the basis mode in the Audi suspensions, everyone thought the car is selecting the mode itself, but it's not doing that. Auto was just like a normal mode, and that's why they call the normal mode now balanced. And here even softer, so that's really the thing and Audi is mastering that very well, this balance between sportiness and comfort. But definitely we have it more, in comparison to the BMW, pushed towards the comfort side. But looking forward, when we go some quicker corners and so on, if that will lose sportiness, or if this one here is also sporty in the suspension, we just gain more comfort. The lane changes are also really cool, a lot of fun. The steering feel is also better here in the Audi. It's just more precise from the very low degree angles here. So no dead zone area, and also that transition between here, like when you start here and then you go a little bit more to the outside. So I said in the BMW it's a little bit better than before, but still there's this, then here it's a little bit more loose, and when you go to the outsides it's too sensitive. That's the BMW. Here in the Audi it's perfect, because you don't feel that you would have a difference between where you are with the steering. Everything kind of feels just as it should be, So I have good control here, but at the same time it doesn't overreact when you go a little bit further. So the Audi steering setup is perfect. And that is a very interesting finding, and they are both on a very high level, definitely, in all the different aspects, but these very fine nuances you only feel when you directly drive them after each other. And once again, BMW better in engine and transmission, the Audi better in the steering, and the suspension is more comfortable, although the suspension are both good, definitely. Any Leah remarks so far? Noise? What do we? It's also really silent. Yeah. I mean, we are going to drive faster very soon now, because I'm not sure yet which is more silent. It could even be that the Audi is more silent,
maybe
right?
A little bit, yeah.
That's my first impression, at least at 100 kilometers an hour or 60 miles an hour, which is a normal motorway speed in most countries. But
And the seats are very sporty here.
yeah, seats are also sport. The seats are holding us tight. The ergonomics, the form of the seats are
better,
good.
yeah.
But we already felt that, said in the interior part as well, that the seating depth, the famous Einsitzhöhe, it's a little bit harder here in the Audi, so that's better in the BMW. And of course, the discussion leatherette versus fabric, that's, just matter of personal preference and so on. I feel the steering is great, but I feel that how it is set up here in this cockpit, I have this, where's it? Yeah, Leah is making fun of me now again, but because that's like in German we can say a monk subject,
OCD,
like an OCD subject, because I always feel like in the steering should be like perfectly aligned in the cockpit. Here now, first of all, this S-combination, it feels really good, nice. Yeah, suspension-wise and comfort-wise, that's really cool. That's nice. Yeah, feels excellent. So it is fun, it is sporty to drive. The wheelbase here is a little bit longer, as I said, couple of centimeters. Do you feel that? Maybe a little. So I would say from the first impression, the BMW does feel a little bit sportier, does it?
Yeah.
You agree, yeah? And like as a passenger, when I throw around the car, where do you feel better, here or in the BMW?
BMW.
In the BMW, interesting. So let's now go one more time to the dynamic mode. Accelerate more out, right there. Of course, not that quick. For most situations, this will be enough. Yeah, the engine, of course.
Feel more G-force. V2, it's like
From suspension, interesting. Here, there are like these transverse bumps. Now, of course, the dynamic setting is a little bit sporty, but yeah, that suspension is evening it out very well. Suspension is crazy good. And now at about 200 kilometers an hour, it's also very silent in here. I would say it's
maybe a
little bit more silent in the BMW, yeah. So noise installation here, excellent in the Audi. It definitely gives you a very sophisticated feeling as well from the overall standpoint. Audi also wanted to lift it up a little bit more. Is that Mercedes B-Class seriously giving me the light horn at 200 kilometers an hour, 125 miles? I can't believe that. Where should I go? Should I go 400? I have no Bugatti. Yeah. So the B-Class are probably missing the Nürburgring Nordschleife or something like that. Yeah. Like it behaves very well here on the German Autobahn. Nice performance here also from the Audi. Love that. And now do a lane change, high speeds, very well mastered. Yeah, that's pretty cool. So overall, very good performance. Now there's the racing B class.
Oh, wow.
Oh, whoa! Now he's want to kick that Seat Leon off the road. Okay, yeah, about that. Here, balanced mode, and then let's check out as for the cruise control, separate column, and also the autonomous driving features and so on. Here, keeping us in the lane, very smooth, very sophisticated as well. Yeah, that's also flawless. Also have a blind spot monitor. You've maybe already seen it here, integrated in the side mirrors. I like that. So that's also very well done. So I think assistance systems wise, both are kind of flawless in these normal level 2 systems. Pretty cool. Yeah, it gives you a very safe and confident feeling, definitely. Now, one more time, dynamic mode, and this very interesting S combination here. Oh, Leah's already holding on tight. Let's see about that. Yeah, really quick also in the corner. Does push you a little bit more in the corner. It feels a little bit heavier than the BMW, honestly. Yeah, you.
Also from my tummy.
Yeah, Leah also feels that. Suspension is really very nice and comfortable, definitely. Yeah, the BMW gives you more driving fun. Gotta say that. I mean, this one is driving exceptionally well, but the BMW gives me more like, hey, I want to be driven. You know, like this sensation of the drive. So the difference in the driving, I would describe it like that. The Audi tries to be a little bit more comfortable.
Caution, roadworks ahead.
Wow.
Interesting. Let's see about that. So the Audi wants to give you the more, laid back, more luxurious, more comfortable feeling, whereas the BMW gives you this sporty sensation of the drive. Almost like a Green GLC 63S Coupé, previous generation. Yeah, also quite rare car on the road here. Yeah, engine also feels a little bit more noisy. Even when you just press it like a little bit, the BMW engine just feels a little bit more, cultivated. I usually take it that way. So definitely the different focus is the BMW sportier, more driving fun, and the Audi more comfortable, especially from suspension. Got to say though that the engine and transmission combination from the BMW is so good that you can hardly do anything against it. And the thing is that the BMW drives sportier, is also more powerful in that spec. At the same time, it consumes way less fuel. That's of course something we have to consider also for the final conclusion. Now it gets even more interesting. Which one would you take home? Which one would I take home, and why? Well, first of all, as for the fuel economy, that one clearly goes to the BMW. 6.5 or like between 6.5 and 7 liters, depending on Autobahn or city for the BMW. So we are in the mid 30 mpg US region, in the mid 40 mpg UK regions. Pretty good for a vehicle with that power already. And the Audi, even though we have this Quattro Ultra there, doesn't bring you too much efficiency. Remember, this one is no mild hybrid system. The BMW does have some recuperation possibilities. And the Audi, just in the Q5, or for example, if you go for the diesel version, then you have a mild hybrid engine here in the Audi. But here we ended up with some 8.5 liters on 1 kilometers. So we're here in the mid 20 mpg US region, in the mid 30 mpg UK region, so about 10 mpg difference, or almost 2 liters on 1 kilometers difference. So the Audi clearly less efficient, although even this version here has way less power. But something that's also to do with that, because you can run this one here, for example, at lower RPM. Also from the engine and transmission, clearly goes to the BMW, because every shifting process, it goes like, it's almost like a symphony in shifting and the engine sound and so on. And the converter automatic here is just doing a phenomenal job. Doesn't mean that the Audi is bad there in any way, but just in a direct comparison there, the engine and transmission setup feels so much more refined and cultivated in the BMW here. And you clearly feel that. Everyone who drives these vehicles clearly feels that. From the exterior, to me personally, I found both very beautiful, both also inside the brand, very beautiful cars. Of course, the front grille with the BMW is always a matter of discussion, but I think that's totally personal preference. I really like both from design. So exterior-wise, I would take home both actually. From the interior, we have some elements that are, you know, better here, better there, and so on. Both are actually in a good build quality. With the Audi, some comments were there that it's maybe like a little bit too overloaded with all the screens and the large screens and so on. Then again, the seating depth, the Einsitzhöhe is better in the BMW. You know, like to have a little bit more, you know, cushion underneath the ischial tuberosity, the sit bone. That's very important. And BMW also with the more animal-friendly solutions, that the base versions are completely animal-free, even the steering wheel going in a sustainable direction. Audi has some offers, but nothing is ever animal-free with the Audi here. The fabric seats would be one solution, not everyone likes them, so I think it's a better solution here from BMW going with more seating depth. Hey, we have a high-grade leatherette, perforation, and that's fine for everyone, you know, so better approach as for the comfort and the materials with the BMW. Space, both leg space in the rear compartment, that's a problem for both. And the trunk, yeah, very well usable here, both in the A5 and in the 4 Series because of this lift back opening. So that's very versatile in this very respect. Yeah, and then we also have the pricing aspect. So they both start, both in Europe and the US, around 50,000 euros or dollars. If you spec them here like they are now with a lot of stuff in there, you can also come close to 80,000 euros. The very vehicles stand here, 78,000 euros, 85,000 euros. But this large price gap then is mainly because of the paint, because this one here is 5,000 euros extra paint. So if you would take a base paint or just like, you know, normal metallic paint, the price difference between these two would only be like 2,000 or 3,000 euros. So they're more or less come at the same price. And then also the question is what leasing rate you maybe get and so on. So price is not really an issue. They are both very close there and it always depends on the spec. Yet again, this one was already that one with more horsepower and so on. Yeah, and then when you combine everything together, the question is, what did the Audi do better? Suspension was actually better, more comfortable. Yeah, better in a comfort sense. Then again, the BMW drove sportier. The Audi has the better steering feel. That one is definitely better also with the Audi. So if you like, let's say, a more comfortable, drawn back, sophisticated approach, maybe then the Audi is more something for you in driving. But if you more like the driving fun, the engagement of the drive, and then also how engine and transmission play together, then it's the BMW for you. And I think overall, if I combine all the different aspects, really the Audi has the more comfortable suspension and the better steering. But all the other things like seating comfort, then the engine, transmission, fun in driving, fuel economy, that all speaks for the BMW. So then bottom line, we have more factors speaking for the BMW here than for the Audi, and that's why I would also take the 4 Series home with me here today. What's your verdict? What do you think about it? Let's discuss in the comments. The big German premium sedan test, Audi A4 versus BMW 3 Series versus Mercedes C-Class. Who will be the winner, or who is a specialist in which segment or in which discipline? We'll find out here with Thomas and Autogefühl for you in 4K, full screen, full length. Let's go. And the A4 would be somewhat the oldest model here in the test. Facelifted, meanwhile, has here this Quattro citation here in the top. The typical Audi single frame grille, here also blacked out. You can go for this option, but you don't have to. And a very interesting district green color for today. Whereas we have the Melbourne red with the BMW 3 Series. So it's an Audi A4 45 TSI versus a 330i. We have all comparable engine versions and all with all-wheel drive today. Here with the M Sport Pack, and then you can also opt for an extended channel line that you also get the kidney in all the way in the black style. But again, you don't have to go for this one. Sporty accentuations in the lower part, and here also with the most elaborated LED function here, you also have these blue accentuations. A very sporty look, both for the Audi and the BMW. With the Mercedes C-Class, you can also take a look how the AMG line looks like. Then you have this micro star pattern actually in the front. The Avantgarde line looks a little bit more subtle, but this new generation has the thing that even the base or the avant-garde line looks already sportier than the previous generation. So basically a sporty look for all of these ones. AMG line maybe a little bit sportier, but already from this wide perspective, you see that the C-Class always more goes into a more like elegant, elaborate way, whereas the Audi and the BMW goes in a more sporty way. So just from the exterior, I would say sportiest, sportier, less sporty, just from the visual part. Or what's your take? And of course, now exterior, later interior, at the end also, I want to know which ones are your favorite. Length, 4.71 m, 4.73 m for the Audi, 4.75 m for the Mercedes, or 185 inches, 186 inches for the Audi, 187 inches for the Mercedes. So, yeah, but they all are somewhat close. Design-wise, the Mercedes has the most roundish design, you can see, most sensual design, I would say, and technology advantage, rear axle steering, so the rear axle, option of course, can go in the opposite direction than the front wheels, gives you a massive advantage when parking in and out and also when doing a U-turn, for example. However, the suspension is not adaptive, but it has kind of, like this selective frequency damping that although it's not actively adaptive, it still acts like it is adaptive. And we'll see in the driving part how the comfort plays out there. Mercedes, BMW, Audi all come with 18-inch wheels here today. And here the BMW with this M Sport package and also the extended shadow line. We've seen the dark front grille. You don't have to go for these ones, but you can see here all blacked out in the most sinister styling actually. And you have a more rectangular shape here if you compare it to the Mercedes C-Class, for example. And adaptive suspension is also available, but already then with a little sportier note. The Audi A4 here in the S line, and then also optional with blacked out here everything. And this has from the styling also a rather conservative note, but once again more angular if you compare it to the C-Class. Which one do you like best in the side profile? The Audi also is available with an adaptive suspension if you like. We also have it here on the test vehicle for today. And once again you can show you another look at how the AMG line of the C-Class would look like from the side profile. Isn't it interesting how they all set a different design accentuation also here in the rear? They are somewhat all different, aren't they? Just what they have in common that the rear lamps are nowadays mostly horizontally drawn with modern automotive design. But once again, the Audi more German Bauhaus style, angular. Same also with the BMW here, since the face also here with a more three-dimensional sculptural design. And the Mercedes once again, the more round, sensual design. Which one is your favorite? Tell me in the comments. And Autogefühl fake exhaust release. Fake exhaust alert, definitely for the C-Class here, for the Mercedes. The BMW, not at all. Of course, sometimes also BMW has fake exhaust. And with the Audi, it's something in between. Fake exhaust tips, but the real one visible. Turning indicator comparison, interesting. The Mercedes has this vertical structure also. BMW with the widest signature. And the Audi, I think the point goes towards the Audi here because they have this cascading feature when you go for the optional matrix LED. The key fobs, very interesting in the comparison. The Mercedes one feels heaviest and most premium, but it's also the thickest then in this case. Maybe the Audi is a solution in between. Which one would you take? Door closing sound tests. BMW and Mercedes. Seats and seating position here in the C-Class. First of all, materials. This one here is animal skin pack. However, there are a lot of Artico or Ambitex choice available, so full leatherette in different colors. And in Germany, you can also get a microfiber insert. The UK with the C-Class is restricted to animal skin, sadly. The position itself here is actually quite okay. I would say that the ergonomics for tall people is not that good. That could be a little bit better here, especially because they set this comfort focus actually. And then here, steering wheel in and out, manual position in this case, but smooth process. And very interesting is that you have the inside of the door control, which are now sadly only capacitive, only with the memory seat package. Other than that, when you have the more base package, then you have some electric controls in the lower part, but the length then is manual. But I would prefer it actually to, in in comparison to the inside of the doors things. They used to be good, but now they don't move actually, just on capacitive control. And I think then I would rather live like this. Interior cockpit overview of the C-Class with this vertical layout here of the huge screen. Temperature control is integrated right here. It also has this nice effect then with the air vents, for example. These are also a massive design element here and really beautiful with the matte wood. So have this sound effect then. And this high gloss black piano lacquer here, not a fan of it. However, you have two different options to get rid of that. Then you have like this aluminum mesh style, for example, in a brighter or darker one. I would advise you to go for that. And the steering wheel, yeah, with hashtag capacitive BS buttons on it. It looks cool, but then again, to control it while driving is hard. This one, the Avant-Garde. The AMG line would have the steering wheel a little bit sporty and with two horizontal spokes. And then you have these digital instruments here. They are very clear to read and also offer different stylings. Infotainment system up close here is easy manual structure. Sometimes could be a little bit quicker and more responsive, but it's actually very clear. For example, here you can change this beautiful ambient light, which also looks great at night, of course, when you change the colors here. And the Apple CarPlay integration or Android Auto is also full screen indeed. And here we also have the optional Burmester sound system, which gives rather a pure sound, not that bass intensive, more like when you like puristic sound experience. That's really cool. Glove box, nicely dampened here. Oh, there's also this Mercedes perfume inside. If you like that, it's an option. Then you can also change the intensity. Then here, the middle console, there's this slider, then you have place for your phone, inductive charging pad, two USB-C chargers, and these cup holders here. Not happy with them because when you have like a glass bottle or something, a smaller one, it doesn't hold them really tight. However, happy here with the split armrest opening, typical Mercedes, and then two more USB-C chargers. Inside of the doors with the BMW, also soft touch materials here everywhere, and also the window controls here. Everything looks like nice build quality. Seats here, the animal skin pack for the 3 Series. However, base would be now perforated Sensatec, and they are also a little bit softer than. Seating position here in the 3 Series. I have to say the seats are kind of small, at least for tall people. And well, from the headroom it's no problem, but you know, here this area, you know, like this hip area and so on. So I feel that ergonomic seating comfort wise, not super happy with that. The Audi is definitely better. With the C-Class, it's a little bit different in a way that when you first sit in it, you say like, it's not that comfortable, but when you drive it for a longer time, it gets kind of okay. But here, not top of the game with the 3 Series. BMW 3 Series, here since the facelift, screen, you have this one unit curved design, 12.3 on the left, 14.9 on the right, and the manual AC unit is gone for that. It looks cleaner, but of course you have more controls in the screen. However, somewhat like a hybrid, because here on the steering wheel we still have manual buttons also for the ACC and so on. So the BMW here positions itself from the user interface between the Audi and the Mercedes. Here now you have the BMW OS 8 in. Of course, visualization wise, it's really impressive. The climate unit then here in the lower part, at least it always stays in one area as well. And this is the whole overview. The disadvantage is it's a little bit more complex. The advantage is that the Apple CarPlay and Android Auto connection is more stable actually. So it is not, that it loses connection or something, just more reliable than in the whole system. And the Harman Kardon sound system, by the way, I really like it. It gives a sound that fits very well to the BMW vehicle, I think. Digital instruments, here they come alive when you start the engine, and then you can also adjust them how you want to see, or like which content you want to see in there. And also I like the central position for the speed, by the way, and also the whole layout you can change as well, and everything has this more modern touch, where for example with the Audi it's more a classic layout. And if you have the OS 8 system here with Android Auto, you can get Google Maps from the right also to the left side, and if you have CarPlay, then the Apple Maps app can also appear here on the left side, and you also get a head-up display here for the BMW. And storage space here, middle console, cup holders, adaptive, inductive charging pad in the front. Difference is that here Android Auto, Apple CarPlay, only wireless and not wired. I'm not sure if that's my favorite then. Here, since the facelift, the real shifting lever is gone. You have this more integrated solution. Looks cleaner, but also maybe less sporty feeling. But what I find cool is that you can still control the infotainment system, not only via touch, but also still here from below. This is a unique selling point here in this 3 and with 3 Series comparison test. 3 Series comparison test, yes. And then here, there's also actually substantial space underneath the middle console. Audi interior inside of the doors, nice microfiber right here, and also a microfiber seat, at least on the inside, available in Germany and in the UK, or a full fabric as base seat. US, sadly, only a normal skin. Seating position in the Audi, to me, is the best because the seats are most suitable to 1.89 m or 6'2". Headroom, no problem, but I think they have best shoulder support. They are the widest actually, so they enclose me the best, take pressure off the lower back area and so on. Interior overview of the Audi A4, also a very clean layout with my favorite AC unit with clicking sounds. And then also here this brushed aluminum look, for example. Since the facelift, a 10-inch touchscreen. The pre-facelift had no touchscreen, then still the MMI knob in the lower part. Steering wheel is not too small, but also like heated steering wheel button directly on steering wheel. This is the theme of the Audi A4. It's more this analog thing where you can still control more things yourself directly. And I really have to say this is my favorite AC unit in the whole industry. Seat heating, everything here. Nice clicking sounds, and you can easily control that while driving. Infotainment system is somewhat the oldest in the test, but it also has a very clear menu structure. Could be a little bit quicker, of course. And then you can go for the Apple CarPlay integration or Android Auto, wireless or wired. You have the possibility to choose. And I really like that you have this volume jog here at the steering wheel, and also on the left side how you control the digital instruments, the easiest and most straightforward way with, once again, click click, nice clicking sounds. Digital instruments, full screen or like this, but that's only working for the car internal map, and then you can click through different functions right here, but it has a very good visualization. And of course you can also get a head-up display. Cup holders, good solution, they're really adaptive. Then you have a small cubby hole right here. Well, it's all closed for them here in the rear. Headroom is no problem in the A4, but barely fits. But then also here, the knees in this recess, yes, but yeah, also very close on the rear bench. You have the same nice microfiber, and the seating comfort itself is also good, but still not so much space, although this is not a rear-driven platform in most of the engines. Rear seating here of the C-Class, well, legroom is limited. I would need to put the seat a little bit higher that the recess here fits better. Other than that, it's kind of cramped also here at the shoulder area, but the comfort itself is actually quite decent. Also a lot of headroom left, even with 189 or 6'2". And inside of the rear doors, also good materials and so on, so it's very good build quality. Just once again, a lot of high gloss black piano lacquer. In the rear here, similar headroom also works, but once again, legroom close. So when you have me as a tall driver in the front, it always gets close in the rear. So there's no clear winner as for that. It's just that the BMW here has an especially large middle console, so the middle seating here is also, you know, in a way blocked. But you see, for short ways, it also works with 5. And now the trunk comparison. Yeah, my master has taught me very well to use the force. And then here, the trunk of the A4, 460 liters officially, but when you look at the dimensions, this looks really square, so visually I think best usable. They're all somewhat comparable in the liter figures. The BMW officially has the biggest liter figure at 500 liters, but then you have this step here raising towards the seats. The dimensions are all more or less the same, like 1 meter or 40 inches in width, 1 meter or 40 inches in length, and about 50 centimeters, a little bit more, or 21 inches in height. This is all the same basically, so more or less similar. The BMW has more space here, therefore also the liter figure, but the Audi to me more square dimensions, I think. The Mercedes here somewhat in between, I would say, also with some space here, and then it gets a little bit narrower towards the wheel arches, so all more or less comparable. But I think maybe with the Audi then best. However, the Mercedes here, once again the theme that this is the tech king, you can easily release the seats from here. Engines today, the most bought, most used ones, 2-liter 4-cylinders each. Audi and BMW also offer 6-cylinders. The C-Class now all about 4-cylinders, even in their performance model. And surprisingly, the Audi 45 TFSI is the strongest one with 265 horsepower, 5.5 seconds in the acceleration figure. The BMW was, at least in Europe, detuned because of emission laws, 245 horsepower now, and 6.1 seconds in the acceleration figure, so a little bit slower. And the Mercedes at 6 seconds in the acceleration figure, 258 horsepower plus the electric boost. Mild hybrid, of course, is also in this segment here now a thing. Both Mercedes and the BMW also have that, but overall they all come close in the acceleration figure. And you can get them either rear-wheel drive or, as we have them here today, all with the four-wheel drive or all-wheel drive. But the main difference is Mercedes and BMW. They have the rear-wheel based platform, so the all-wheel drive is always rear-wheel biased, whereas the Audi in the smaller engines have a front-wheel bias because of this Quattro Ultra. Welcome to Thomas's Comparison Driving Lounge. Mercedes C-Class C300 4MATIC, 40 kilometers an hour, German Autobahn. Let's go. 100. 50. And 200 kilometers an hour. There we go. It's actually well done. So the official figure is about 6 seconds for the C300 4MATIC from 0 to 100 kilometers an hour, or 60 miles an hour. Yeah, actually quite smooth, and also here at higher speeds. Good noise insulation, it's not loud at all indeed. Lane changes here. Car's not shaking up too much. This is here a selective damping. That means it does not change according to the driving mode, but it constantly is somewhat adaptive in a way that it reacts on the different amplitudes, of the bumps. So the reason for that is they don't want to make an active adaptive system, basically to save money. But at the same time, when there are bumps in the road, it's comfortable. But when there's no bumps, it's basically stiff, that you have more stability. And that works very well. And you've seen it here when we're on the motorway high speed. Wasn't shaking up too much. So really happy with the suspension here, although we didn't change anything from that. You really go left and right and so on. It doesn't give you the sportiest appearance, but still it's not shaking up too much. So I think they found a very good compromise. This is equipped here with the rear axle steering option, and that one automatically adds the sportier suspension. So there are two suspensions, the base one and the sport suspension. And when you go for the rear axle steering, it automatically adds the sport suspension that is a little bit lower, 50 millimeters. But it doesn't feel uncomfortable. 18-inch wheels here with winter tires, so it's also a good choice. And here, this is also one of the advantages of the C-Class. Some might not like it. I found it very spectacular. Look at that ambient lighting. It's just awesome. And of course, here this effect, when you put it warmer or colder, that it also changes then according to the temperature. Really, really cool. I love it because it adds so much more emotion to the whole vehicle. Overall, as I said, this generation of the C-Class, if you compare it to the previous generation, has become sportier, definitely. Steering or suspension-wise, the steering input is more direct. I really like that now. And especially if you have the combination with the rear axle steering. So, recently talked to a Mercedes engineer, and it's the same actually for the GLC and also for the C-Class. When you have the rear axle steering, the steering itself is also more direct in every case. And that's a very cool thing, actually. Here at higher speeds, at speeds above 60 kilometers or above 37 miles per hour, the rear axle steering works in a way that it goes in a parallel direction to give you more stability. at lower speeds, we'll soon also do some winding corners, there the rear axle steers in the opposite direction than the front wheels, giving you more agility and also reducing in turning circle. Mild hybrid system, so we also have a lot of start-stop function here, for example. And when I have something to roll or so, it can also happen that the engine shuts off, more so in the eco mode when you select that, or also in the comfort mode. And the engine itself is also pretty silent. In the sport mode, you have more sound amplification. That's basically for all cars. When you are here, look at that. I don't have to steer so much. That's great. So with past Mercedes models, we had to steer more than 90 degrees with the steering in a 90-degree bend. And here it was maybe exactly the same, or maybe even a little bit less. So I really like the new steering characteristics here of this new generation C-Class. So I heard you wanted more nighttime driving. Well, we already have it here once again in the tunnel, and this is the vehicle that really shines, indeed, literally, if you compare it to the others, especially here in the nighttime tunnel driving part. We go once more to the sports mode. You can see you can also select here on the lower side without touching the screen once again. And we go from 100 kilometers this time and accelerate it out. Nice high speed bend in here, 160. 180, it's enough for now. And then now lane change tighter in the corner. Yeah, it's very good in the handling. Really not too stiff, so it doesn't get uncomfortable. It doesn't give you like the most controlled high-speed feeling, but it's actually very well done. But still you feel that the C-Class in this segment here is rather set on comfort than on sporty driving. But again, this new generation, if you compare it to the previous generation C-Class, is definitely way sportier. But in comparison to the 3 Series and the A4, the C-Class still says like, hey, I'm, want to go more in this elegant, comfortable direction, and I think that's also a good choice. So here you have this combination of the ambient lighting, the good comfortable suspension in any case, but then again more driving fun here now with the new steering setup, and this rear axle steering is of course a big technology advantage, at least. Now to the BMW 330i, we put it to the sport mode. We can also go even sport plus, 40 kilometers an hour. Let's go. Kilometers an hour. Really nicely done in the acceleration as well. Now here lane change at higher speed. I don't have the best control over the steering, I have to say, and also pretty loud in here. So I feel that this one here is louder than the two others at higher speeds. And suspension is doing a great job. It's actually the stiffest one in the test, I feel. Yeah, you feel it, especially when you're going over these bumps in a very fast way. So the BMW, to me, already right now, seems to be the sportiest proposition in this test indeed. So, suspension laid out on the stiffest tone, the sportiest engine sound, especially with the sound amplification here in the sport mode. At the same time, the engine feels kind of most refined. That's interesting, although the Audi is a little bit quicker. However, the steering here, yeah, I have been criticizing that sometimes already with the 3 Series, it feels a little bit vague. Here in the sport mode is better actually, but especially when you are in the normal comfort mode, for example, then it's just really loose, especially in this area. Here to the side it gets better, but it feels kind of artificial. And I think the 3 Series, told it last time as well, 3 Series should be the benchmark for a natural steering with BMW, but it is the worst in the brand lineup, and I still don't get it. A BMW X5, for example, has a better steering feel than the BMW 3 Series, and that can't be. Yeah, it's not that it would be super bad or something, just I would have very high standards for the 3 Series as for the steering input. Really nice, since the facelift here, cool visualizations. Of course, it kind of communicates between both worlds. I already have that feeling in the interior and now also in driving. The Audi most conservative cockpit layout, you feel more analog also while driving, feel most in control of all the different controls. The BMW in between, a mix of analog and digital, and the Mercedes goes full digital. These are the three different things they have basically, and that also transports a little bit to driving. So when the steering input would also be the sportiest, which it is not, then the BMW would be clearly the sportiest in every single aspect. But I think the BMW would need then the steering of the Audi or even of the Mercedes. Yeah, that's really interesting finding Mercedes C-Class in the new generation has a sportier steering than the BMW 3 Series. And what's going on here? I would have never thought that in the previous generation it was definitely the other way around. With the Mercedes, definitely also due to the rear axle steering. Let's see how much do I have to put in here steering. Yeah, that's comparable to the Audi, I would say. So the Mercedes here even needs less steering input as far as I remember, because of the rear axle steering. They're very, very interesting. Cool thing with the BMW is definitely sporty suspension and the nice engine sound, and how the whole car reacts, and also how rear wheel biased it is also, even when you have all-wheel drive. The BMW is the vehicle that rather tempts you most to attack, saying like, hey, please drive me right now, drive me harder. Did I say that? So let's go to the motorway once more. And here, for example, when I'm accelerating out of the corner, that's beautiful with the 3 Series. So accelerating out of the corner. So we'll do another motorway run here, high speed, and then we will go some winding corners. And there we will also then feel the difference to the Audi then later on, because the Audi has not a rear wheel bias with the all-wheel drive in the 2-liter engine. And this will be different in another test we will also conduct at a later stage, where we'll show you M340i versus C43 versus S4. That is also to come up on Autogefühl very soon, or maybe it's already online when you watch this review at a later stage. And we'll also link it, or you can always just use the YouTube search like Autogefühl C43 or whatever, whatever model you're searching. Put our channel name in a YouTube search and then the car model you are searching, and most of the models on the market we do have a full review of actually. Here inside the tunnel, by the way, some ambient lighting, yes, and here once again in the middle between Audi and Mercedes is the BMW with more visualizations, more facelift interior update and so on, and a little bit more ambient lighting than the Audi, but not as much as with the Mercedes. Sport Plus mode, and also here you can always switch between D and S, the shifting modes. Here you have to do it separately. In the Audi it automatically goes from D to S then. Here you have to do it separately. And we start at 80 kilometers an hour. Let's go. 120. Wow, that's such a nice sound. 150. Also handles very well in that corner here. Good stable feeling. A little bit rougher definitely than the other ones. Way rougher than the other ones from suspension. Yeah, I feel wind noise is higher. Sound is more pronounced and sportier. Suspension is stiffer, but the steering has less control. And the thing is, that's also one of the main reasons why this here feels, let's say, least in control. Again, all at a very high level, all three sedans here, all three premium sedans set a very high level benchmark, definitely. But we are talking about the nuances of the differences because we all have them three on location here today. So when you think about how aggressive are the vehicles, then the C-Class is the least aggressive. More like what do the cars try to communicate to you? The C-Class tells me, I'm sophisticated, you are sophisticated, chill, relax, lay back, let me float you around a little bit. I'm that setup for Alexa is not complete, whatever. So I'm that small S-Class and so on, and we are better than anyone else, and look at that, how my luxury ambient lighting feature and so on. The BMW definitely says like, what the hell with everyone else, you know, let's attack this road, let's put me in the corners, drive me. And the Audi says like, hey, I want like, you know, straightforward controls, everything should be straightforward and easy, and you can drive me comfortable and sporty at the same time, you know. And I found that super interesting how when you directly drive these cars after each other, you can literally feel these small nuances in what the car is trying to tell you. This is super interesting. Yeah, and that's also one of the reasons why I love doing these comparison tests for you, because even if I've driven all of these vehicles separately, sometimes there's some time in between, and it's then really tough to remember from the core feeling how the difference was. But when you then drive them all after each other, then you also get these small nuances, and then you can also profit from that. And it is always really hard to say this car is the best one, but the most important thing is which of the features are most important to you. And here, for example, the assisted driving, this one is very well done. Well, I mean, we are on a countryside road and steering is following everything perfectly. So this is also very well done here in the BMW. Yeah, I feel that the Mercedes and the BMW have something ahead of the Audi in that respect, because the Audi is also the oldest vehicle. These assistance systems here are tuned a little bit more, you know, also everything is recognized from the sensors and the camera and so on and so on. So this one is doing a great job. Let's see if this this corner is also mastered, whereas the Audi struggles with it, for example. You know, I can soon show you that. Super interesting, definitely. So seating comfort wise, by the way, that is one drawback here of the BMW. At first I thought that the Mercedes has the least seating comfort, just going in, out in static part. But when you drive the vehicle, actually, the BMW gets most uncomfortable from the seating ergonomics. Again, in the CenterTech, perforated CenterTech, the new material here for the 3 Series facelift also, you have better comfort because the material is softer than here the animal skin equipment. This will also improve comfort, so just stay with the base CenterTech seats and enjoy also this perforation, more breathability. But in general, from the ergonomics, the Audi is the best, and then the Mercedes, and then the BMW. Both BMW and Mercedes, I feel, not too much laid out for people who are a little bit taller or as tall as me. That's better with the Audi, definitely. Interesting, by the way, because I criticized the steering input. You can either have a comfort setting, or when you go into sport mode, then everything goes sporty. But there's also configure individual. And then you can actually, for example, but that's only a sport individual mode, strangely. Why not putting an individual separately? But you can also select just the different settings and then configure individual. Then you can select steering, drivetrain, transmission, and so on and so on. And now I have set, for example, everything on comfort, but just the steering on sport. And that way you can have a normal comfort mode, but still with some more feedback in the steering. Strangely, however, and I just found out about that, the steering then is a little bit more resistant, or shows more resistance than in comfort. But when you then go from sport individual to the normal sport mode, or even to sport plus, there's even more resistance. So you cannot pick the most or the highest resistance feel in the steering wheel by sport individual. That is obviously not possible. And I ask myself, why is that? You know, and that is not only possible automatically in the Sport and Sport Plus mode, where then you also have all other sporty features again. So I guess the best compromise is program Sport individual, leave everything to comfort, but the steering wheel, then at least you have some more feeling in it. All right, now in these winding corners, and steering wheel not good. Whoa. That was some slip. Interesting. So in the Sport Plus mode, more slip is allowed, but then again, also the ESP is ruling. Also, when you have too much slip, you can of course also deactivate these systems, but I don't do it here on public roads. Yeah, it's really a little bit slippery indeed. in the Sport Plus mode. So let me just go to the normal Sport mode. Maybe that's better than with a little less dip. Wow, interesting. Didn't expect that. So in here, yeah, out of the corners when you have enough traction, that's really cool then indeed. Again, the steering feel is not the best, but the vehicle itself conveys the most aggressive and, let's drive feeling. So also chassis wise and how we can get out of the corners with such a rear wheel bias always. Of course, either in the pure rear wheel drive version or then still with the rear wheel bias also when you have the all wheel drive version. And now to the Audi A4. We put to the dynamic mode. Here 265 horsepower also puts it to the S shifting mode. And this one's supposed to be the quickest of the three. Let's see, let's let this other car pass and then we'll start from 40 kilometers an hour and accelerate it out. All right, ready? Let's go. 120, 150, 160. I have to cancel it now for safety reasons. This Q8 in front of us blocked us. Here we go now from 130. 160. Really has a good punch still. Wow. And now 200 kilometers an hour, 125 miles an hour, and really stable here also. Great job from that adaptive suspension in the sports mode, giving me more feedback. Wow, this feels really, everything feels like kind of like integrated. You feel very much connected to the vehicle. That's great actually. Wow, super interesting. Yeah, and indeed, it is a little bit quicker. It's not that the, engine-wise, the best feeling gives you the BMW engine. Maybe also because of the sound they give on the inside or something. The BMW engine feels at least most refined, but definitely here the Audi one is the quickest. Yeah, super interesting. Of course, when you're accelerating straight out, you don't really feel a big effect of this thing that this one here in the Audi is not a rear-wheel drive engine. They just have that for the 3-liter 6-cylinder petrol and diesel, where you have the standard Quattro overdrive 40-60 split. Here in the 2-liter engines, this Quattro Ultra, where you have predominantly front-wheel drive and on demand also rear-wheel drive. Here, by the way, also in the tunnel, you see difference then to the Mercedes, where everything is shining all over the place with the ambient lighting. And here, rather subtle, drawn back, which is the basic theme of this interior, that everything is more subtle and more conservative indeed. And that can be a good or a bad thing. It really depends on your preference. As for the all-wheel drive setup, this will be very interesting soon when we go a little bit more agile corners and accelerate out of the corners. If this one still having a significant effect, then if that's maybe worse or something. Here, by the way, again from the steering input, very likable. The thing is, the BMW to me is the worst steering input in the test indeed, and that shouldn't be the case, right? So, BMW has done a lot of things very well in recent models, definitely. You can argue about some double kidneys in the front, but the steering input in the 3 Series is still something I think it needs to be fixed, because it's better in the BMW SUVs. And the Audi always had a great steering input. Now let's take a look here, 90 degrees bend. See here, turn a little bit more than 90 degrees, but feels really natural and progressive. But the surprising thing here is now with the new generation of the C-Class, the steering input in the C-Class, especially when you have the rear axle steering, is, I actually have to say, it's probably even better. And that is a surprising result, because so far the Mercedes steering inputs were more like out for running straight and you have to steer a lot. But this combination, new generation C-Class with the rear axle steering is even better in steering than the Audi. Super surprising result here, and you only feel it when you directly drive them after each other. That's pretty amazing indeed, because you've maybe seen in that exact bend we've just been turning, I had to steer the, when I say C-Class steering, I think it was like this or something, and the Audi had to do like this. Yeah, super interesting indeed. However, the steering input here in the Audi is still very likable and gives you a very good feeling of the vehicle. And the seating position also has a massive impact on driving here. So the Audi from all three vehicles has the best seats, I have to say, from the ergonomics. BMW meanwhile offers the best materials, I think, with the perforated sensor tech. Here the Dynamica microfiber, of course, is also really good in the Audi. But the ergonomics here at least is laid out best for tall drivers like me. And in the C-Class, the seats are just too small. And I think the ergonomics of the three-seat seats, like the base seat that is underneath, the form, could be better. So the Audi here leads it for me as for the seating comfort. And that also gives you a different driving feeling. You feel like you can drive a longer way without back pain and so on. And also I have more shoulder support. And that also helps in sporty driving. So the new C-Class generation is definitely sportier than before and also a lot of fun to drive. But here, due to the more integrated seating position here, you more feel like you would be owning this vehicle. You know what I mean? Like you are in control of this vehicle. And I came to a similar conclusion in direct comparison A4 C-Class. C-Class is always more a little bit of being driven, and A4 is you drive that vehicle. That can be good or bad, depending on what you want, actually. One more time, let's go to the dynamic mode. Drive select, yes, and then as shifting mode is activated, when we start from 90 kilometers an hour, let's go. 160. Wow, and feels so nice here in that long bend. I'm still accelerating, and once again, 200 kilometers an hour. Wow, good feedback from the suspension. Wind noise wise, they are all good indeed. I don't know, what do you think? Also from the camera, could it be that the C-Class has a slight advantage there? Maybe, right? But really hard to differentiate. Wow, it's really good here from the turning left and right. And I think it's a very interesting thing that the C-Class does not have an adaptive suspension. It sounds like, but it's not. And the BMW and the Audi, they do offer that. And the big difference is that it is stiffer than in the sports mode and more comfortable in the normal mode. However, the Mercedes suspension is so good that it kind of fulfills both, because they have these frequency selective dampers that are also, although they're not actively controlled, still act in an adaptive way. And still the C-Class, especially when you don't pick the sport suspension, which I would not recommend for the C-Class, stick with the base suspension with the C-Class. The C-Class more gives you like a floating feeling on the road, more like, hey, I'm inspired by the S-Class and I want to be most comfortable and luxurious. Whereas the BMW and the Audi say like, hey, we have this adaptive suspension technology, we want to serve both. We want to be comfortable and sporty at the same time, but we more go in a little bit sporty direction. And the C-Class, especially with the non-sport suspension, more goes like, hey, I'm too sophisticated for that to go into that sports game, And that is again a thing. I'll also talk about that in the conclusion very soon, that you can't really say with a lot of aspects about that, like, this is bad or this is good. It's more about what do you expect from the vehicle and what you appreciate most about individual aspects. We're going to talk about that in depth again in the conclusion. This will be super interesting. Oh, there's a C-Class. Hey, C-Class. Will the C-Class follow me? I guess. Once again to our review location. Do you think that, hey, Mercedes reacted in that moment in the vehicle? Yeah, assistance systems, let's test that one here in the Audi. So I'll go back also to the, taking some time to react sometimes. So the auto mode, then setting the cruise control, separate stalk column at the steering wheel. And then I can also set here at the stalk column the active lane keeping assist. And this is also pretty easy and straightforward control. Let's see now on the countryside road how the steering wheel is reacting. So far, so smooth. Frequent subscribers or viewers know, or you know then, that I tend to test it here and not on the Autobahn where it's meant to be, because here it's even more tricky. You know, it's meant to be tested on the Autobahn usually, or used on the Autobahn usually, but here in these, yeah, you see here, that at some point the system fails, and some vehicles are so sophisticated in the assistance systems that they master also countryside road to keep it like half autonomously. Here it works well, but I feel that the systems in the newer vehicles, I mean 3 Series has been facelifted, also later C-Class all new generation, there the assistance systems are already a little bit more sophisticated. But once again, that doesn't mean that it's the ideal thing for you, because the thing is, yeah, that might not be to your liking, because when an assistance system is more sophisticated, it also means in some point you are less in control. And there is the big question again, what do you like best? To be more in control of the vehicle or to have more guidance in the vehicle? Now the question is also with that all-wheel drive thing, how does the A4 perform in winding corners? All right, let's pull it here into the corners. Also suspension here. This is in a stiffer mode, but then the road gets very rough. Yeah, I think this time I feel that the C-Class just gives more comfort on uneven roads. You know, accelerating out. You know, the steering wheel doesn't get too light, so there's no significant understeering or something. But you do feel a little bit that it's front wheel bias. Let's see here once more again. Yeah, a little bit, but actually not too much. So I think although they don't have the rear-wheel driven platform, yeah, a little bit. So you feel that the front wheels are pulling a little bit more in comparison to the others. So it is more fun with the rear-wheel driven platforms accelerating out. However, as for the general agility feeling, like left and right, the driving dynamics from the vehicle, the A4 is also fantastic. And then with the steering input, that is really cool. Once again, it's a lot of fun, and also again it plays a role that you feel so much integrated in the vehicle. So yeah, I mean, driving fun-wise, I think the most ideal thing would be when you would have the A4 handling with the drivetrain of the C-Class or the BMW or something, you know. So yeah, and there you see where we might have a problem in concisely deciding. They all have so much to offer in the individual factors. So what we're going to do now? Wow, super interesting to directly drive all of these 3 cars after each other. First of all 3 of them are very elaborated, are definitely awesome vehicles, no doubt about that. What do they have in common? The consumption for these engines here, the 2-liter 4-cylinders with all-wheel drive each, almost the same, all around 9 liters on 1 kilometer, so 26 mpg US, 31 mpg UK. But what are the differences? The A4 definitely has a sporty look. On the interior, the unique feature is that it has the most direct, most conservative user interface. To me, also still easiest to control, like an 80s analog stereo, where you also have a sound feedback and so on. And at the same time, you also have, to me, the best seating comfort, actually, especially for tall people. Then again, in driving, you don't have a rear-wheel bias with this 2-liter 4-cylinder engine. That might be one of the disadvantages, actually. But still, a very agile driving feeling, quite silent also on the Autobahn, and surprisingly also with the quickest acceleration figure. The BMW actually tells me most like, hey, I want to be driven, let's have fun. It has some kind of the most aggressive driving characteristics, also most slip at the rear axle and so on. So this one more the driver's focused car. The Audi tries to go in this balance, between sportiness and comfort. The BMW most goes in the sporty direction. The suspension, even when you have the adaptive one, is the stiffest in the test. So everything's set on the sporty note with the BMW. And when you think about the brand values, that kind of also fits. So really, it's so interesting what these cars are trying to tell us. The Audi tells us, I want to combine sportiness and comfort. The BMW says, sportiness, let's go. Also from the exterior and so on. Seating comfort, to me, sadly the least comfortable from the seat ergonomics. However, they offer nice perforated Sensatec material as for the surface. When we think about the Mercedes, you have a very stylish exterior, definitely, no matter if Avantgarde or AMG line. The interior is the most digital one, whereas the BMW tries to communicate between both worlds, is like a combination of analog and digital with this facelift, this new dash and so on. The Mercedes goes all the way digital, most controls then in the screen and so on. And it is the most impressive car in this test, definitely. Infotainment system and also the ambient lighting looks so cool. It has the most features that you can show off to your friends. That's also very interesting, isn't it? And I really love to drive with this ambient lighting in the night, for example. Interesting is that it does not have a real adaptive suspension. However, the suspension is so cool, it kind of gives you this floating effect. It does share parts with the Mercedes S-Class, and indeed feels like driving a small S-Class. So the C-Class goes more in this elaborate, more comfortable position, and that also fits the brand core image indeed. A downside is, of course, that it might be a little bit more complicated as for the user interface. Then again, this high-tech vehicle approach, for example, this one offers the rear axle steering, which helps so much when parking in and out and being more agile, U-turning and so on. So the C-Class is the technology king here of this review. Comfort-wise, I would say from the seating comfort between the two ones. Yeah, so it is really hard to pick a concise winner. The thing is, they all have their unique position. The Audi, to me, the unique position, straightforward user interface, comfort and sportiness combined, and to me also most comfortable as for the seating. The BMW, kind of like the sports king, I would say, of this review, but then with some compromises to the comfort. And the Mercedes, the technology king here in this review. And of course with this, most showing off effect. And now the question is, which one of these aspects is most important to you? So I would not really say that one is better than the other one. The question is really, what is the focus? And let's say with the C-Class, at first, and also when I did the first comparison test, I was a little bit more skeptical, but the longer you drive it, the more you like it and the more you get used to the features, which were a little bit more complicated at first and so on, and the more you enjoy also this suspension, which is giving you this floating feeling. The BMW is really when you want this sporty non-compromise, I would say. But I mean, when I have to decide right now, it's really, really tough. So to me, there's no clear winner. All of them have their special features. To me, the thing is that the seating comfort is extremely important. That's what I really appreciate about the A4. But I was also surprised by the Mercedes. The steering input together with the rear axle steering was also the best in the test done here. So, wait, before you decide, let's talk about pricing as well. So they all, of course, also come kind of close, and it depends on the trims and what extra equipment you put in there. But when we take these concise test vehicles here for today, interesting thing is 70,000 euros, 80,000 euros, 70,000 euros. Usually the Mercedes are most expensive, but although they have like rear axle steering inside and so on, the BMW has somewhat most equipment from the extra price list and is indeed way more expensive. So again, it depends on the options list, but as they stand here right now, would you have guessed that this one is the most expensive one? So I would actually decide between the Mercedes and the Audi, and I really enjoy the Mercedes and also the ambient lighting and the technology. But I think due to the seating comfort and the straightforward user interface, I would personally lean towards the Audi. But again, that's not that it's the better vehicle. It's just that my personal preference, it is more important to have the best seating comfort and the overall best compromise of comfort and sportiness. But the more I have been driving the C-Class, it also gave me, hey, maybe I should then go for the C-Class. So really complicated. This is my very, very close call for today. It's just that the BMW is actually, in this segment here, not the one I would pick here today. That's to me actually pretty sure. In other segments, for example, recently we had the result where the BMW was the clear winner. So you see these premium manufacturers here in Germany, they come so close that also the comparison results are also always very, very close. What do you think? Tell me your choice and why in the comments. Over 1000 horsepower in one video. The premium sedans comparison test. Audi S4 versus BMW M340i versus Mercedes C43. This is Thomas with Autogefühl in 4K, full screen, full length. Let's go with the Audi single frame grille, black styling. You can also get black Audi rings and this Ur Quattro citation from the first Quattro model actually. Here then the matrix LED lamps with a beautiful turning indicator also in the cascading style and more black accentuations in the lower part. This color is called Ascari Blue. The BMW styling actually, I think styling wise, it just looks most screaming out in a way here, especially with the M Sport Package Pro, where you can also get this dark frame around the double kidney. The standard M340i would also come with like gray accentuations, and here the C43 vertical fins in the special AMG front grille, which also is wider in the lower part than in the top part. This color here is called Hyacinth Red. Yeah, it's a little bit strange because in the configurator you only find the Patagonia, but you can also go for custom orders. And here the lamps, also with a very interesting daytime running light. The turning indicator not as spectacular right here. This then also the digital light, also with adaptive high beam function and so on. Which one do you find best from the front styling? Tell me in the comments. With 4.71 m or 185 inches, the BMW is, so to speak, the smallest, but it's actually not a huge difference to the other size figures for the Mercedes and the Audi. Big difference is also will have an effect on driving. We have 18-inch wheels for the BMW and the Audi, of course can get bigger ones, and 19-inch wheels today for the Mercedes. The Mercedes in the side profile has the most aggressive look, the sportiest look. The BMW, something in between, and the Audi clearly the most conservative, most subtle look on the exterior. As for the rear, super interesting how they differ right here. They all employ this separate contrasting spoiler right here. The Audi once again with the most conservative look and also, let's say, not screaming out too much. The BMW, I think, most consistent. Oh, another guest for today. Here, I think very beautiful with the three-dimensional tail lamps. And the Mercedes is the most screaming out one, but they all employ fake exhaust. Worst with the Audi, of course, in the EU diesel trim. It is better than in the petrol trim with the Audi, of course, where you have real exhaust. And here with the BMW, something in between, because you have this outer tip. And with the Mercedes, these are not the real pipes. The real one is also on the inside. Key fob comparison, Audi, BMW, Mercedes. They all have something. The Mercedes one is the most elaborated one in a way, also the heaviest one, but then it's also thickest in the pocket actually. And the BMW here, the slimmest one. Which one is your favorite? BMW seating position, a lot of headroom left, definitely also for tall people. The steering wheel here also with the manual control, also very smooth indeed. The seats so far so good. I think for tall people the ergonomics could be a little bit better. I think that Volvo still does it best as for the seat ergonomics, but I also feel that the Audi seat is especially a little bit more comfortable than this one here. This one here, the animal skin spec. However, BMW is best in offering perforated sensor tech, the animal-free material in all markets. Since the 3 Series facelift, BMW presents us a mix of analog and digital. This new curved screen, 2 screens then in one unit, but then you still have a manual volume knob, and also here in the lower part, this control knob right there, that you can also control the infotainment system while driving. I really appreciate to have that. The infotainment system itself is actually quite quick indeed. Also has a useful car internal GPS, and the Apple CarPlay integration is really large. Definitely you see here this horizontal focus, whereas Mercedes goes with the vertical focus. Just here the AC unit, it went into the screen with the facelift. That is easier to access with the Audi, also when you want to activate the seat heating or so, because you always have to go into the menu or use the voice control. Instruments come alive like this, and then you can also switch here to different layouts. This is a more, let's say, modern digital approach, whereas Audi, for example, also has an analog digital look. Do you know what I mean? So which one would you prefer? And I don't know about you, but here this new shifting lever, I think BMW needs a proper shifting stick and not this, yes, clean solution, but it's just tiny. Mercedes door closing sound. Also very good. You see a lot of high gloss piano lacquer is being used, so it looks quite cool. But when you then look in detail, the other ones look more elaborated. This is the AMG Performance seat. Stiffer, slimmer, and also more bolstering. You can also get the normal sport seat, which would be standard. In Germany, we can also get Dynamica microfiber on the inside. Not possible in the UK and not certain yet in the US. Seating is not too uncomfortable, although this is quite stiff from the bolstering, more comfort than in a normal comfort seat. But here also I think that the seating comfort is best with the Audi. Steering is actually quite cool here with the microfiber and also the two horizontal spokes. But then again, also hashtag capacitive BS at the steering wheel. Interior overview with the Mercedes, most screaming out also here from the design. Vertical layout, big difference to the other ones. And here in the C43 we also have this carbon fiber decor right here. The air vents are also really screaming out. Nice ambient lighting integration at night, however. And the steering wheel, once again, this has a good size and also nice shifting pedals. Well, there's such a huge difference between the Audi, which is most subtle, most conservative, and the Mercedes, which has like elements here, everywhere. What I found very cool is that with the Mercedes, you can drive and also select then the driving modes at the steering wheel directly. That's the easiest here in the test. And you can also see the driving modes changing in the infotainment system, but also can individually just set a specific setting here in these special AMG gauges. And the rest of the infotainment system, it's actually pretty quick. And also here the car internal GPS, for example, the Apple CarPlay integration. Looks like this, also really large indeed. You can very well work with that, and also like in the BMW temperature unit in the screen, it always stays at this point, but still that is best in the Audi where you still have the physical input. Oh, and have you seen the air vents, like the middle controls? They are now all straight in this vehicle, unlike in models before. Probably they have fix that. Digital instruments, very versatile. You can pick completely different stylings. For example, here understated look, also map look, or assistance systems and so on, how you want to drive. And for the AMG, you also have special sport gauges like Sport or Super Sport. No, Super Sport, yeah, that's about controlling it with the capacitive BS buttons and also track pace. And you also have a lot of storage here in the front, cup holders also adaptive to USB-C chargers, and in the middle armrest more. Front seating here with the Audi, comfortable and balanced, and also the steering wheel position here, manual start up and down and out, but really smooth indeed. So this is here already seating wise a good balance between sportiness and comfort. And headroom is plenty left even with 189 or 6'2". And the Audi seats here with Alcantara on the middle part and integrated head restraint. Looks quite cool, especially this Alcantara pattern, doesn't it? Interior overview in the Audi S4, clean, straightforward, rather conservative, nice brushed aluminum. And here this tablet or the screen is basically attached. This is the facelift model. Digital instruments, clear to read. I think the best digital instruments here in this test. You can also change the view. And of course this lovely climate unit right here. It's so great, has this really beautiful clicking sound. This is the best straightforward user interface, also here with the toggle wheels on the steering wheel. So yes, it looks most old school, but it's also easiest to control. Seating here in the BMW, already close when I'm driving here in the front. This recess here at the back part of the seat, that would work better when I put the seat a little bit higher, then it would actually work. Headroom, yeah, gets close, but it's also fine for my size, 1.89 m or 6'2". A little bit narrow here for the shoulder area. That's quite typical for BMW sedans. Overall, also good build quality here for the rear doors. There is one advantage to the performance seat. It gives you a little bit more legroom, but also in all three vehicles you hardly have any knee room when a tall driver is driving. And headroom is also comparable. You can always basically put a hand over your head. So there, not much difference. It's very comparable with the BMW. I think just from the basic architecture, the Audi offers a little bit more space here to the side, but not more legroom. This one here actually, with the performance seat, best legroom. Seating in the rear with the Audi, headroom is fine, but these sport seats with the integrated head restraint, they really restrict the legroom. It's better with the normal A4 with a separated head restraint, but here it's really, really close. Just cool inside of the door, the Alcantara, and also here on the seats again. The BMW trunk is with 500 liters on paper, the largest, but here we have a lot of liters here and on the other side, but then again it's a little bit narrow here between the wheel arches, but it's actually quite high. 455 liters for the Mercedes trunk, also same length approximately and the same width between the wheel arches. I think here this plastic part here should not be there in this vehicle, but also very well usable like the others. And you can, that's the biggest advantage, fold the seats very, very easily from here. If another help, and there you can load things through. And the Audi at 460 liters, but I feel this one here has the best square dimensions. So they're all 1.40 meters in length or in width approximately, but this one I think among the best usable. The acceleration figure to 1 kilometers or 62 miles now is with all of them around 4.5 seconds, but they reach it with a different way. Here the Mercedes goes 4-cylinder now, really? Here you can see the stability or the strut bar or dome strut. 1, 2, 3, 4. For a C43, I doubt that's the right decision. However, performance-wise, it's all the way there. It even has the biggest horsepower output with this mild hybrid system of over 400 horsepower. The BMW Classic, the 3-liter inline 6-cylinder, probably to me the best engine in the test. I can already tell that so far. And around 370 horsepower. And it is the quickest, because there's like a 0.2 second difference than where this one is actually quicker. And we'll also soon go to the German Autobahn, launch it all the way out and see how is the acceleration in the higher speed, like 80 to 180 kilometers an hour or something like that. This will be very, very interesting. The Audi is a little bit special. In Europe, you get the 3-liter 6-cylinder diesel. In the US, you get the 3-liter 6-cylinder petrol engine. We'll also test drive both for you today, that you can actually compare them. So in Europe, I have to say the diesel falls a little bit out of the spec. However, for the driving performance and the behavior of the vehicle, it doesn't change much because it is still a rear-wheel biased all-wheel drive. They all come with all-wheel drive. You can also get the BMW in the US with rear-wheel drive only. The Audi and the Mercedes always then with all-wheel drive. The petrol engine, of course, in the US for the Audi is a little bit better as for the sound and also from the low torque area and so on. Welcome to Thomas's Comparison Driving Lounge, starting with the M340i, putting it in Sport Plus and also in the S shifting mode. And we'll get on to the German Autobahn for the first acceleration. Let's go. Plop, that was like 40 to 180 kilometers an hour. Wow. That was impressive indeed. Whew, this engine is so engaging. And if you compare the 3 Series 2-liter 4-cylinder versus the 3-liter inline 6-cylinder here, it adds so much to this vehicle here indeed. Wow, this is a huge difference. Recently we had our test of the more civilized versions of these 3 vehicles here. And this time, yeah, it is just the most engaging engine. The Audi 3-liter V6 you can get in the North American market for the S4. There's also a great engine, definitely. This one here just, so emotional. At the same time, it can also be very calm when we just go comfort mode and D-driving mode. that's actually really, really, really calm. And you can score great consumption figures even when you're going like cruise control, 100 kilometers an hour, 120 kilometers an hour, like 60, 70 miles an hour. This 3-liter inline 6-cylinder is more fuel saving than the 2-liter 4-cylinder. You can score better consumption figures indeed. It's quite astonishing, you know, because you can always keep it at a lower RPM and so on. It's not, you know, working so much. Of course, when you race it all the way through, use all of that horsepower, then of course the consumption will go up. But actually, it can also be quite economic. Well, not that great, but in comparison to the 2-liter 4-cylinder, it's not worse at all. In most cases, even better. That's really interesting thing. Let's go back into the Sport Plus mode and also in the S shifting mode. Here it's basically split. With the Audi, for example, it is always also connected, and with the Mercedes as well. Here with the BMW, you basically have the sport setting here for suspension and so on, throttle input, and for the steering that you have a little bit more feedback. By the way, really nice with this transition, a lot of fun. And then you have to go for the shifting also in that S mode, so that the RPMs are turned up higher and so on. So this split here, I'm not really sure why they're doing that. I think it's too complicated. If you would go to the sport mode, I think you would also want sporty shifting directly, right? Oh, listen to that. Woo! That's 200 kilometers an hour, 125 miles an hour. Yeah, this engine is so much fun indeed. Wind noise at higher speed, I feel, is better, especially with the Mercedes. Actually, when we're really, really fast here now. Yeah, and also when we are driving a little bit faster, I feel that I don't have the best control of the steering. It's not that predictable, I would say, because here they made it that running straight is a little bit calmer, basically, you know what I mean? So here it doesn't do too much, and then when you get to this area, then it suddenly does more, you know? And that is not that predictable like the other steerings. Yeah, but the engine, of course, there's even still an artificial sound here because everything is well insulated and so on. But you also get artificial boost in here. They change here, a lot of fun. Wow, really nice. Adaptive suspension we have also as an option built in here. Even in the sport mode, it is quite comfortable with 18-inch wheels. Now we go to the comfort mode. Then it's also a little bit more comfortable overall. And I think also when there are some bumps in the road, they don't get through to your lower back and so on. So here I found with the BMW, when you go for the adaptive suspension, you already add some more comfort. And then it's really about the wheel choice. So I had some rides with 19-inch wheels where I would say, maybe it's too rough in a way. But here with 18-inch wheels and the winter tires is actually quite fine. And I think they didn't exaggerate anything with this vehicle here and also with the suspension setup. So if you want like the super aggressive thing, you would of course go for the M3. Here the M340i still presents a balance that you want to have this car in everyday driving. Oh, also when you go off the throttle, not sure how you can pick it up on camera, but going throttle and leaving it, plop, 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 you got these exhaust notes there. It's just lovely indeed. So indeed the 340i here, the thing that this one here does especially well is giving you so much emotion, and that is definitely connected to the engine. And now the Mercedes, let's go to the Sports Plus mode and accelerate it out. Let's go. That's 190 kilometers an hour. That went also very quick indeed. So pure performance-wise, you are not missing the 6-cylinder. The sound we're hearing is, of course, emulated. It's not that it would not be emulated in the 6-cylinders, but here is just, let's say, more emulation. So Yeah, the big question is here, is it worse when you know it's fake? Yeah, that might be also a question for other fields of life. Well, I mean, it doesn't sound too bad actually. And also when you go off the throttle, you also have some plop, plop, plop from the exhaust. It does feel cool and it does feel sporty. That's true. Steering here on the side, we have the microfiber one, and it's actually very well to control. Lane changes are also a lot of fun. Yeah, this one feels way different than the normal C-Class indeed. So I said with the BMW, it makes it basically a different vehicle mainly due to the engine. Here in the Mercedes, if you compare the Mercedes C-Class and the AMG C-Class, it makes it really a very different vehicle, not only from the engine. Yeah, we still have the 4-cylinder here, but suspension-wise, it's way stiffer. The steering also feels a little bit more engaging. Of course, you also have this AMG styling. Yeah, the whole car feels more like let's go attack it and so on. This is very interesting. Whereas with the Audi, there is not that large difference between a normal A4 and the S4. Yeah, engine power-wise, of course, yes. But that's why the A4 is always some kind of this compromised balance between comfort and sportiness. And with Mercedes here, you feel the biggest gap between the normal version and the AMG version. That has always been the case. It's very interesting. Whereas with Audi, the transition between the different models in the lineup is really smooth always. With BMW, a little bit more gap, and with Mercedes, there's the biggest gap then between the normal and the AMG model. This is a very interesting finding here, definitely. It is also very engaging to drive. As for how natural the steering feels, well, it's super astonishing that when you compare the previous generation C-Class, that this is here now definitely more direct. This is actually very cool. I like that sporty feature, that the steering is just sportier overall. However, the most natural feeling in the comfort mode, it's really, really light. When we are in the sports mode, Sport and Sport Plus, I have a little bit more resistance. There's also an individual mode. You can also set up then, for example, that you make the steering itself just, a little bit harder in the reaction. That's also fine. But I think the most natural feeling is still delivered by the Audi, steering feeling wise. So by the steering, you feel most connected to the Audi. That's the thing. Other than that, suspension wise and also how the car behaves, you also feel really connected here with the C43. So let's go to the next Autobahn here. Another acceleration. Just have to see that no one is behind us. Let's see, and we can hit once again. Let's go. 170. Wow, suspension is really rough in here. Woo! Yeah, this is actually the roughest suspension in the test. Been wondering about that. Interesting. So really less compromise. So whereas the Audi has biggest compromise, sportiness and comfort and balance, BMW then more in the sporty direction, and here, yeah, the Mercedes feels kind of sportiest. Also here lane change at higher speeds. Well done. It's actually also reasonably silent in here as for the wind noise, so good noise insulation in the C-Class, also a lot of fun. What about the Audi? Plop, that's 180 kilometers an hour, really strong. Of course, here in the European version, this is the 3-liter diesel. However, the acceleration figure is kind of the same. There's just a difference that when you have that diesel, the torque is setting in later. And then on the Autobahn, when you're already at speed and using that torque, then it's really strong. Gives you a good punch as well. The TSI, which you also get in the US, or then in the S5 convertible. You can still get it, for example, in Europe. That one is actually a little bit more instant torque, instant speed at lower speeds. Oh, directly when you hit the pedal. Here with the diesel, you have to wait like this second and then it pushes massively. But what they have both in common, and this will also not change anything else about this review, both have the standard quattro 40-60 distribution, so you always have a rear wheel bias indeed. And of course also suspension and so on and handling is the same. Here on the German Autobahn, once again, it really feels at home, so settled indeed. We have the adaptive suspension in here. I'm in dynamic mode, then I have a little bit more feedback from the road, but I can also go, for example, to the comfort mode. Then it dampens a little bit softer. It's actually very good in both cases, and that's the thing about the S models at Audi. They are always setting a tone on the perfect balance, actually. They don't want to go too much into the sporty direction. They really want to give you the perfect balance between sportiness and comfort, and that's what I love here also about the Audi S4 indeed. Also in combination with the seats, for example, I think the Audi here has the best long-term comfort, is, so to speak, the most relaxed vehicle of the three here. And also when I take the Alpha Giulia into account, still accounts for that the Audi is the most relaxed vehicle without being, you know, so much less sporty or so much less instantaneous from the acceleration and so on. Also here with the steering, really precise, very progressive, finest input, and you don't feel any dead zone area. I also think the steering input is among the best with the Audi. Mercedes improved that massively now here with the new C-Class generation. So before they were a little bit off as for the sporty character of the steering, now definitely more comparable, but the Audi steering here is still so likable both in parking in and out and also when you handle a little bit sportier. Like here now, this is a transition between two Autobahns. This is actually most fun to me. So some people say, wow, look at that here. Hardly have to use the steering wheel. I mean, really progressive, very nice. So some people say throttling it out on the Autobahn is most fun. I always say these transitions between two Autobahn, this is actually to me the most fun. By the way, one Autobahn, two Autobahnen, that would be like, you know, like the correct German thing. The plural of Autobahn is then Autobahnen, not Autobahns, like the English plural. So, eine Autobahn, zwei Autobahnen. Listen and repeat. Eine Autobahn, zwei Autobahnen. Like one Autobahn, two Autobahn. So, and here, the next Autobahn. Wow, really good punch, good control, and you've really maybe seen I don't have to do much work on the steering wheel and how precise and calm the car is handling. That's really what I love about this vehicle, and you feel sport and comfort at the same time. I can't stress it enough that this is the special thing about this vehicle. And of course, the straight user interface while driving, click, click. It just gives you this more perceived premium feeling when it's so easy to change the temperature, and you also hear this clicking sound while driving, while changing the temperature. Good and clear and easy digital instruments. So this, on the one hand, old school atmosphere in this vehicle maybe is so straightforward, and to me, still, of the three, the best user interface while driving. And this has a direct connection to driving, because when you are so much in control of the vehicle and you have never any doubt how to control which function in the vehicle, it makes you drive safer, sportier, with more fun, more enjoyment, and less being annoyed by, wait a minute, where was this functioning? And oh, and do I have to search deep in the menu? No, everything is here straightforward, and that really brings back the focus just on driving. And getting off the Autobahn is always a lot of fun as well. Look at that here. And I can have such a high corner speed at the same time, being in perfect control of that. This is a vehicle I really feel one with. And now as comparison, the Audi 6-cylinder petrol. Drop, that's over 180 kilometers an hour. Here, of course, a little bit more wind noise because this is here an S5 convertible. That's the way we can also test in Europe still this 3-liter V6 petrol in the Audi. And yeah, both have good punch, also the 3 to 6 liter diesel, but this, you know, just has this V6 petrol note, and it's just more lively from the low RPM area. And yeah, that would actually be then the cooler choice, definitely, and also then comparable to the M340i from the BMW. Yeah, it's just so much cooler hearing that sound and also knowing that this isn't fake at all. Now let's sum everything up for you. Which one would you take home? Tell me in the comments. And which one would I go for? It's really tough because, well, with the Audi, you have the best balance between sportiness and comfort. And you also have the most direct user interface. Controlling it while driving is easiest. Exterior and interior is on the one hand most conservative, and it's also the oldest model in the test. But that's not necessarily a bad thing. In the EU, of course, with the diesel choice, I think that's not really appropriate. It's still a good and, you know, good performance engine, yes, but I would expect this 6-cylinder petrol feeling then in this case. So in the US, it's definitely a great choice. And it's also a price choice because when you look at the concise prices, 84,000 euros, 92 and 97,000 euros for the Mercedes. So the Audi is, so to speak, the most affordable one. Of course, all are very expensive indeed. The BMW, one step further, more goes into a sporty direction already, but still has a good balance indeed. From the exterior, I like it best actually. Interior, since the facelift is of course a little bit more into the digital world, but still quite good to control, and has of course a little bit more modern touch than the Audi. Then the Mercedes, surprisingly, it is the sportiest in the test from the overall sporty driving feeling, because it has the stiffest suspension, especially in the sport setting. The steering is also quite sporty. However, the Audi steering feel is most natural, I have to say. But the Mercedes has this biggest gap between the normal Mercedes and the C43. Here with the normal 3 Series and the M Performance model, it's a little bit slimmer. And with the normal A4 and the S4, the margin is the slimmest actually. But again, that's not a good or bad thing. It's just, you know, a different approach, a different strategy indeed. So I had most driving fun with the Mercedes, most engine fun from like the low frequency vibrations and so on with the BMW and best looks, and most interior fun and most balanced out feeling for an everyday driving perspective with the Audi. So they all have this different focus, and then the question is which one is most important to you. With the 4-cylinder in the Mercedes, the performance is there, no doubt about that. But again, these low frequency vibrations, you somehow feel this gut feeling. I think then here the 6-cylinder in the BMW just delivers you a little bit more. Which one would you take? Tell me in the comments. As for me personally, well, I had the most driving fun with the Mercedes. Indeed, that was super cool. And here in Europe, since I can only get the diesel for the Audi, it would be rather the BMW to get this 6-cylinder feeling indeed. Because yeah, in Europe, this is then the only 6-cylinder you can get as a 6-cylinder petrol. In the US, there's also the 6-cylinder for the Audi available, so probably I would go then for the Audi in the US. And also seating-wise, for example, in the UK, I can also get the perforated sensor tag in the BMW, whereas in Germany I can also get the microfiber, if you guys see today, the microfiber for the Mercedes, for example. So yeah, it's definitely a very, very tough choice. The question is if sportiness is the most important to you or more the balance between sportiness and comfort. Why would people buy a BMW 2 Series Gran Coupé instead of a BMW 3 Series sedan? This question here we'll solve here today with Thomas on Autogefühl in 4K, full screen, full length. Let's go with the new BMW 2 Series Gran Coupé, which is the entry to the world of BMW in the sedan segment. So the smallest and cheapest one in the US actually. In the EU, we would also have the 1 Series, which builds on the very same platform. This here is also the M235. This is the new performance model, the strongest engine here, soon more about the horsepower. Then you can see here, this is also equipped with the, let's say, most sinister look. And then you can see it have all the way blacked out the grille, then the horizontal fins in there. You can now also get an illuminated front grille. That's available as an option. Option also matrix LED. This is also the US spec vehicle. We are also in the US here for you today in South Carolina. And this color here is Borusan Turkish blue, a very bright blue. I love it, you know, it just screams out. And I think it's great when these vehicle colors are also decisive. Length here is 4.55 meters or 179 inches. That means it's about 16 centimeters shorter or 6 inches shorter than the BMW 3 Series. And the wheelbase difference is even 18 centimeters or 7 inches. And that, in the driving dynamics, of course, speaks for this one here. When you have shorter wheelbase, you have better driving dynamics. And what you can also see here in the front hood is shorter because this one here is housing 3- and 4-cylinder engines. Northern American market, only 4 cylinders. Whereas with the BMW 3 Series, you could also house the 6-cylinder engines, and they're also put in longitudinal, whereas here it's the transverse mount of the engine. And that means that you also do not lose so much space on the interior. However, then you do not have a rear wheel focus. This one here is a front wheel platform, but then there are also all-wheel drive models, like the entry model in the US, and also here this 235. This one here is also all-wheel drive. You will not get the rear wheel bias, however you have a limited slip differential in the front that also reduces this effect and so on. Towards the rear, they have reworked the rear end of the vehicle to make it appear a little bit slimmer actually. Here, modern tail lamp signature, and you also see that the eye is missing behind the M235 because they use that one for the electric vehicles now and they don't want to confuse it with the combustion engines. Here we have the contrast also with the upper lip. This is also equipped with the Tech Pack Pro, so this has additional stiffening measures underneath the vehicle, for example. So this is the sportiest how you can spec this vehicle. In the lower part also more black accentuations here and real visible exhaust pipes. 1, 2, 3, 4. This looks pretty cool and I'm really looking forward to how this one here also sounds in the US spec. We'll also talk about that. Let's move on to the engines. So in the EU, you'll have 1.2 liter 3-cylinder engines as well. That one you do not have here in the US. There you directly start with the 2 liter 4-cylinder engines. Front-wheel drive will also be the entry-level version. All-wheel drive is available and the 235. This is 2 liter 4-cylinder as well. And then with either 300 horsepower in the EU, 317 horsepower here in the US spec, a little bit more. This dome strut here, by the way, you already get in the normal M Sport package. So, and then the additional stiffening measures either in the 235 and then on top this Tech Pack, then you get it as stiff as possible, so to speak. And then the more you push, the more power is also sent to the rear wheels. Wheels from 17 to 19 inch, and these are the biggest 19-inch wheels. These are, in this case, also the special forged lightweight wheels. The acceleration figure for this one here, by the way, is 4.9 seconds in the EU, 4.7 seconds the miles per hour figure to 60 miles per hour. So already pretty quick. Weight-wise, by the way, is not a big difference if you, for example, compare now like a 330i X-Drive or something like that. This one is here, as it stands right here, only like 20 kilograms lighter or something like that. So this is not a big difference between 2 Series and 3 Series. Here, the turning indicators have this pulsing effect. Looks pretty cool. Some like it, some don't. Yeah, but that's what they offer here, and why not being a little bit different, so to speak. As for suspension, it's also interesting. You get a base suspension. And if you go for an M Sport pack or here the M235, you get the M Sport suspension, which then comes with frequency adaptive dampers, giving you a wider span between comfort and sportiness without being actively changeable. So you cannot adjust it with the driving modes. They always, rule in a certain spectrum then with hydraulic cushions. So yeah, that's actually good that you can combine sportiness and comfort a little bit better. And if you then have here the M235, this whole setup is even a little bit stiffer. If you then add this special Tech Pack, it's even a little bit stiffer, so you can go from soft to stiffest. And the turning indicators here on the outside in the US spec, they look less spectacular here in the red. If we would have the EU spec, where you also have the yellow, it's definitely more visible. Yeah, it's a thing I can't really understand from the US regulations. I think yellow turning indicators are always better visible, and you can more differentiate between the braking light and also the turning indicators. Yeah, but that's how it is, like, you know, for a very long time. At the end of the review, we will also talk about pricing, but one thing also in advance, because the price difference between the 2 Series and the 3 Series in the entry, for example, in the North American market, is always like about 5,000 to 6,000 euros. So indeed, it is less expensive. That would be another argument why you would go here for the 2 Series. Of course, the counter argument is that the 3 Series is a rear-wheel biased platform, so you can get rear-wheel drive only models, and if you have the all-wheel drive, it is still always rear-wheel biased with the 3 Series. Interior with this key fob here with the M colors in the 235, then door closing sound is not too good, honestly.
Really? I like it.
You like it? Okay, Leah likes it. I don't, but you see, it's also a matter of preference. Yeah, because here we have frameless doors. That's also the special thing. It's a Coupé officially, and like the frameless doors usually don't sound that good. Leah likes it, yeah. But what about you? What you hear here on camera? Then here, inside of the doors, the top part is, let's say, structured but quite hard. Then it's a little bit softer here. Also then here, softer for your elbow. Optional Harman Kardon sound system. No felt cover at the inside here, however.
But
Oh yeah, this
nice
entry sill
badge.
is covered here with the badge. And then interesting piece here. So it's like with a three-dimensional cutting out technology. It's a real metal piece, so beautiful job. Also ambient lighting behind it. M Sport steering wheel, it's like in the M Sport package or here in the M235. The base steering wheel would also be animal-free actually. Real buttons also at the steering wheel, so nice to control. Seats here always without animal material. Base fabric, then you have a sport seat, you have here microfiber available, for example. You have also full leatherette available. And this one here, you can see it on both seats, this is the M Sport seat, so the third seat in the row. And this one has like the hole here, inspired by racing background. You know, you used to have like real racing seats, you put the seatbelt through it, but this is just the visual part then. And here with integrated head restraints, there's the microfiber, and also then it shines through like the M colors from behind. Pretty cool. And this one thing actually, that the seating comfort for a compact vehicle is very good. And I feel also that the base ergonomic of the seats can be better than in the 3 Series. So I sit very well here, and these sport seats here, they cage you in more, but leave you enough space, and they're also really like, you know, embracing you here at the shoulder area. The base seats and the normal sport seats, they would be a little bit more open each. And with 189, 6'2", still have some headroom left. Although this ceiling here in the US spec version is a little bit lower due to different crash test issues. Interior cockpit overview. Here we also have handmade stitches here. So like stitched with the machine, but with the machine by hand, you know what I mean? And also again, this real metal piece right here. So actually quite extensive individual work for this vehicle. New cockpit here also, all digitalized, one curved display, but 2 individual screens then here. And for these sport seats here, by the way, the M Sport seat, you can also make the lower part a little bit longer. In the middle part here, adaptive cup holders, that's good to have definitely. Then you have an inductive charging pad, which is also ventilated. Another place to put your phone here, but that's really shallow. 2 USB-C chargers, integrated shifting lever. You always have dual clutch transmissions in here. This is also different than to the 3 Series. And here, this middle armrest could be maybe a little bit softer, but it's, I think, still fine. Oh, I got just like a tiger mosquito, just got bitten. And then here, some space underneath. There we go. And yeah, it's actually quite sporty seating position already. And that steering wheel is pretty thick. And look at that here. Really, really large shifting pedals. Driver POV here with the buttons here. This is, for example, for the cruise control. Then see here the digital instruments. You can have a map view inside, and this then here, for example, the RPM on the right side, left side speed. You can also get a head-up display, which we see right there. And then the climate functions are actually here. So in the screen, yeah, you know, I prefer always to have physical dials. What's interesting here, ambient lighting wise, so when I use minus or plus, then it's also shown here in the ambient lighting, warmer or colder. Yeah, why not? It's a very interesting feature for sure. Other than that, you also have a car internal GPS with the BMW testing center here in Spartanburg today, or also going back here is like the home menu. You can set it yourself, and this is like the map view, but like this main menu. And Apple CarPlay and Auto, of course, always available wireless. Rear seats, first of all, here also structure here. Can you somewhat soft here on the top part, just hardback in the lower part actually. Then it also opens wide enough. Let's take it that way. Then also here in this case the microfiber seats, and interesting also that here the head restraints, you can fold them up on demand. Otherwise, when you don't need the rear ones, then you fold them down. You have a better view to the rear. Then we can fold this one down here for cup holders with some rubber lips. This is also a ski hatch you can fold down to reach through. In the middle part, 2 USB-C chargers now, and there's still a middle tunnel, of course, because also the all-wheel drive models. And then as for the space we have here, first of all, headroom. This is the thing about the US version. There is this crash safety thing that there needs to be a crash test for rear passengers if they don't use the seat belt. So, and because that exists, you have less headroom in the US version. So you would have a little bit more headroom in the European version of that one. So here for me with 189 6x2, it gets really close. There's, by the way, also a version available with panoramic roof that would also exist. Legroom wise, the thing is here, the M Sport seats, they are a little bit thicker. So with the base seats, I think it should be a little bit better. And then if you put it a little bit higher, then the knees can fit better into this recess. So it is close, definitely. But the thing is that, for example, a 3 Series would not offer like more legroom, because there you lose the length rather due to the front hood. Trunk or boot, here, let's take a look at 430 liters. Cabin trolley also fits in like this, and here is like a meter of 40 inches in width, and the length, we fold something here, so it's almost a meter of 40 inches. And here 2/3, 1/3 split, or the middle part with the ski hatch can also be folded down, and the height is here at 46 centimeters or 18 inches. And this is interesting here, this lower part, you can fold up like this and even further like that, for example. And this is also like goes from left to right. So in that way, underneath it, it's also better usable than with the 3 Series, if you will. And the total length then to the seat as I would be driving is here at about 180 or 71 inches. That's quite decent for this length. Launch control. Woo! So that was 200 kilometers an hour, 125 miles an hour from 0. You good?
Yeah.
Yeah, Leah is all right.
So much fun.
And now we're here on a test track, so that's like a racetrack, so to speak. We're in the sport mode, and this is at the same time also set to a Sport Plus. Accelerate out. Oh, we don't want to drive over some birdos. Here we go, high speed again. Yeah, it's really nice and smooth acceleration. There we go. Once again, 200 kilometers an hour, 125 miles an hour. Yeah, it's not that loud from the wind noise. A little bit here from the side mirrors, and that's the thing here, again, about the M Sport Pack, or if you have the M235. It is louder from these side mirrors here at higher speeds. That's just the thing. Yeah, I mean, it's because of this aerodynamic form, and then you just have the issue that it is actually louder. So, a base 2 Series Gran Coupé would be less loud from these side mirrors. That's very interesting, isn't it? Steering feel is actually really precise and direct. We can also use the straight for that to show that to you. Here, left and right. And I feel it's a better steering input than in the 3 Series. You know, here we can also like test some lane changes, for example. It's really great in left and right? It's like, is it fun or is it annoying? No, it's fun. It's fun, yeah, it's cool.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, like the seats are holding us really tight. That's pretty cool. Yeah, I mean, acceleration, they are, like, say, more extreme performance. Oh, nice. When I go off the throttle and plop, 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 plop from this exhaust. So really nice indeed. So they are more extreme performance cars, let's take it that way. But the cool thing about this here, even though it doesn't have like the most extreme acceleration, the dynamics, you know, like left and right, is really good. So here's not too much weight, doesn't push me out of the corner. Really nice feeling for the steering here. I can very well follow that track here. That's pretty cool. Yeah, it's nice. Of course, I would wish for a little bit more punch when going, you know, out of the corner. Yes, that's true. But still, it's really about like the driving fun. And I really have to say, it is more driving fun going left and right than in the 3 Series. The only thing is like when you accelerate out of a corner, that is then more fun in a rear-wheel biased vehicle. Because here you have like this front wheel acceleration, but then also power ascent to the rear wheels. You know, it depends a little bit. You don't have too much understeering because of this differential in the front, so that's not the bad thing. And you are still always in control of that steering as well. So that's not a problem actually. It's just that you don't feel a rear wheel bias. That's not happening, you know. Here I can also be a little bit tighter in the corner. It's really stable in these corners as well, and it does exactly what I want. Feels light here when I go on the throttle, then out of the corner. Yeah, it's really nice. Love that. So much fun to drive actually. Pretty cool, and it's good to have this high-speed track here that we can show you the full speed potential also in a legal way. You know, to 20 kilometers an hour, and also we have these performance brakes here. They're doing a good job. Really fine dosing of these brakes here. Yeah, I just love that. So it's like driving wise. We already had that in the 135i, for example. Let's see, drive that corner a little bit tighter now, for example. It is a driving machine and it's so much fun here. A lot of G-forces we have here, like pulling out. Yeah, that's pretty cool, right? I really love that. So it's so much driving fun, definitely here. And of course, some road driving. Yeah, nice acceleration onto the motorway or just a normal road here. Just personal mode, you know, and you don't need to put it in the sport mode. The thing is always, of course, here, picking my modes, and then you have to confirm here to go to the sport mode, for example. Then here also the ESC is drawn back. If you have set it to plus, Sport Plus, we had set it to Sport Plus everything. Yeah, but most of the time you can just stay in the personal mode and that's it actually. You can also use the shifting pedals here. Shift back yourself here is also really, you know, wide, easy to shift and so on. Or you can use here lower part for the S shifting mode. That is, for example, when you're doing some alpine passes, you know, so windy corners and everything. It will not be better in the acceleration. The best acceleration you will have just when it was also a nice blue color for the Q3 there in the front. So when you are in the just in the sport mode and leave this 4 Series convertible. I'm not sure you guys can see it on camera because it's like a little bit to the right, but there's a nice blue 4 Series convertible. It's like a M340i as well, yeah. So normal sport mode, not changing the shifting mode. That is the best for the actual acceleration actually. So because when you are in this S shifting mode, the RPMs are kept higher, but that doesn't really mean that you have the most correct shifting point, you know what I mean? Yeah, and most of the time you just stay in the personal mode because you also have the good acceleration there in most situations when you just use the pin down. The suspension will not change because you have here the M Sport suspension with the frequency adaptive dampening. Overall, you get the effect that you have sportiness and comfort in a wider span. Let's take it that way, without that you actively change something right here. And so far, it's not too stiff, although we have 19-inch wheels here. Yeah, but if you want more comfort, you would not go for this 19-inch wheel spec overall. So that's always the thing. You can more vary in the wheel choices, I feel, here. When you're going over some transverse joints, for example, then you do feel that. And that's also different to the 3 Series. If you would have the adaptive suspension in the BMW 3 Series, it brings a little bit more calmness and comfort to it. This one you feel, let's say it's the younger BMW, it has more sportiness, it's stiffer from the suspension, doesn't even out that much. In the 3 Series, it's also actively adaptive. It changes according to the driving mode. So that is Actually, two things speaking about the 3 Series, rear wheel bias and also the adaptive suspension is more comfortable. Here you have just more here like the road is not that well done, has a lot of like, you know, brakes in it and so on, and there you feel that. So to me, you have like this really distinctive sportiness, but maybe I would wish for a little bit more comfort, you know. But I feel it would also already be better if you stick with 18-inch wheels. The 19-inch wheels, of course, look awesome, but I feel they cost you a little bit too much comfort. Or do you think, Leah? What would you?
Yeah, I agree.
You agree? Yeah. Okay, yeah. So that's the thing. On the other hand, of course, like the car is not moving much, you know, to the left and the right. And that's actually also then good for the passenger. We also experienced that on the track. You want to drive first? Or? So what we experienced on the track is that it's really good for the passenger, and that speaks always for the vehicle. If passenger princess stays really calm and happy and satisfied and actually like that, so that's pretty cool for that one actually. Yeah, and it's really fun to drive it in everyday driving life. At the same time, the seats are also quite comfortable. Here, of course, the M Sport seats, they are keeping you tighter. On the track, it's awesome. In normal everyday driving, I would maybe say that the normal sport seat or even the base seat gives you a little bit more freedom to move around, and you maybe not necessarily need the extra sportiness. Yeah, here we feel that you have this rather stiff suspension. Yeah. But it's really, you know, especially after driving it in an agile way and also then testing here the everyday comfort, then it becomes more and more likely and makes more sense why people would go intentionally for a 2 Series Gran Coupé and not maybe for a 3 Series, because the most obvious choice is just going classic 3 Series, you know. And I think we could bit by bit, exterior, interior, and also with the driving show you why it can actually still make sense to give that, you know. Here, assisted driving, it's mainly used for the highway and stuff, but it does already work here, like that. So it's even keeping the car in the lane here if you are not on the motorway. And so all the assistance systems are also quite sophisticated, of course, still level 2, but here, look at that. I'm not steering the car at the moment, just for testing purposes. Yeah, flawlessly done in that respect as well. Pricing on the US market, 39 to 49,000 US dollars, couple of thousand US dollars more with some extras and so on. And then you are in a region, also acceleration-wise, between a 330i and an M340i, and already have a quite nice performance car. European price, Germany, for example, 37,000 euros up to 60,000 euros. Then add a couple of thousand euros extra. So you see this, as it stands here right now, is way more expensive on the German market. Then we also have lower entry-level versions with a 3-cylinder and so on. So yeah, once again, although this one is one of the BMWs that is not built in the US, it's built actually in Germany, in Leipzig, special plant that's also using more renewable energies and so on. This one is still, once again, way cheaper in the US because car prices are just way cheaper there. Although this one here, you know, gets another import tax here before it arrives in the States. Very interesting. So to conclude, between like the 2 Series and the 3 Series, yes, the 3 Series has this rear wheel setup. This one is a front wheel bias platform, but then all-wheel drive with this vehicle, you hardly feel the front wheel bias. Gotta say though that a 3 Series suspension-wise can bring more calmness and more comfort into the whole game, because this compact platform here, this is usually rather a little bit rough as for suspension, so you have to like that sporty approach. Then again, this one 5,000-6,000 dollars or euros always less expensive, so you can get better deals, better rates here for this vehicle. It is shorter, so better to park in and out. Yet at the same time, you do not lose space on the interior because the front hood is actually shorter, and the driving dynamics is actually quite good here, you know, when you're going left and right. And I would actually say that this one is actually more fun to drive, you know, in the dynamics left and right than a 3 Series, so that could speak for it. And especially like a younger target group always appreciate this kind of like more design-oriented coupe design, whereas the 3 Series is showing more this classic sedan styling. After all, it's a matter of preference, but I think we never had like this approach to the vehicle. I was always asking myself, like, why do they actually still do that? But now, as we dug deeper into this topic, I can now very well understand it. And the comfort, for example, on the seats is also very good. So sometimes I feel that the front seats are even a little bit better here in the 2 Series than in the 3 Series. So these here are all the arguments why you could also consider it. What do you think? Tell me your comment here about 3 Series against 2 Series. 235i we had here today. The most important thing for me with this new vehicle here, that I could match the beautiful Ascari blue with my polo shirt and my shoes even. That's one of my hobbies. And now the most important things for you, all the details about the Audi S3 facelift with Thomas and Autogefühl in 4K, full screen, full length. Let's go here with the front. Completely new front styling here in the grille. And also these lying Ls here. Today in the bright styling. You could also get a black pack for the S3, but I feel it is more beautiful that way. Here, new Audi rings, more two-dimensional styling, and also in this bright white design. LED, optional matrix LED is available, and for this one you can get different daytime running light signatures you can individualize on the interior. 3 with the normal LED, 4 with the matrix LED. Side profile, this here is the S3 sedan. Both are available, hatchback and the sedan. The sedan here at 177 inches or 4 meters and 50. The hatchback would be 4 meters 35 or 171 inches. S3, 18-inch wheels or 19-inch, and this is a beautiful styling, reminds me of a 90s BBS styling, this spider style. New 18-inch brakes underneath, red brake calipers. I think it's so much more beautiful when you hear the bright contrast around the windows, also in the lower part and at the side mirrors. Or would you rather go for a blacked out design? Tell me in the comments. I think also the sedan so much, brings so much more character to this vehicle. Some others prefer the hatch. Design-wise, I definitely prefer the sedan. What do you think? And suspension-wise, you either get a fixed sport suspension, 50 millimeters lower than the base model, or the DCC. That's the adaptive suspension you get here with the S3 as well. Then it's also 50 millimeters lower in comparison to a standard model. And if you compare adaptive suspension standard model versus adaptive suspension here with the S3, the difference is 5 millimeters. Beautiful palms in the background, isn't it, here in our Oman location. Look at that here in the rear, optional sports exhaust by Akrapovic titanium. Then you have these 4 pipes here. That looks really cool, and soon we'll also take a sound sample for you. Then new styling here with the lower bumper, also with these lying Ls in that form. And then important technology change. The S3 now gets the torque split from the RS3. What does it mean? The all-wheel drive system usually works front plus rear on demand, maximum 50-50 distribution. And then on the rear axle, now with this torque split, one wheel can turn faster than the other one, and that is usually then the outside wheel when you go in a corner. So for example, I go into a left corner, then the right outside wheel turns faster than the inside wheel, or gets more power actually, and then it kind of leans into the corner that way. You can even go to a dynamic plus mode that is new, then also ESC is drawn back, and you can do some kind of drifting action, although it is not a rear wheel based platform. Turning indicators in the front already with the cascading style if you have the top matrix LED option. In the rear you already get the cascading form here with the normal LED trim. That one is at least standard for the S3. 2-liter 4-cylinder under the hood, now at 333 horsepower. That's 23 horsepower more than the pre-facelift. 420 Newton meters of torque, and the acceleration figure now is at 4.7 seconds. Before it was 4.8 seconds. Oh, here's also nice S or red signalizing the 4 cylinders. And yeah, still the gas struts, good to have them definitely. Key fob here with the touchable Audi logo, I think it's good. And also here with the S badge. By the way, the model naming is now always here at the B pillar. It says S3 TSI Quattro for the all-wheel drive. Yeah, a lot of desert sand here getting collected. Then door closing sound. Oh, There we go. It's really solid like that. Inside of the doors, soft touch in the top part somewhat. And then here also the nice door handle, which you actually control like this from the lower part. This then here microfiber inside, also with this, you know, with these micro holes there. So pretty cool styling. Just the lower part is hardback. Also, there's no covering on the inside. Sonos sound system you can get there now. Then the S entry badge here for the S3, as well as the S steering. Then you have perforations at the side with contrast stitching, and you have new microfiber inserts here and also on the right side of the dashboard. My absolute favorite are these sport seats. In this case then also with microfiber inside, leatherette on the outside, so the seats are completely animal free. They look cool also here with the stamped in S logo, and at the same time they not only look cool, they give you side support, but they also are good long term. So this is still compact size here, compact sedan, but you have a comfort like a level above, and that's what I really fancy. And here steering wheel up and down, in and out, manual control with a good size here, still clicking sounds from these buttons, manual buttons, that's what I love. Also upgraded shifting levers here now. They were there before, but now they have, you know, this shiny top, so they look a little bit more upmarket. Headroom here without the panoramic roof with the 189 or 6'2". Yeah, still some left. There's always like, what is this? Like, walk, walk. And Leah can show us now how far back the passenger seat goes. It's also very important when you have long legs, of course, as a passenger, that it goes far backwards. And thank you so much, Leah, for your filming today. Desert-like temperatures, and it's really, really hot. So thanks also for her effort. Please also thank her in the comments. Interior cockpit overview, here with these very prominent air vents. Then soft touch here at the dashboard, new Dynamica microfiber inserts here, 10-inch infotainment system. I love clicking sounds for the real manual climate unit. Good to have that still. And instruments here, 12.3-inch all digital. Shifting pedals are very well to use. Yeah, and I really like the setup that you have not too large a steering wheel and so on. Real touchable audio rings on the steering wheel. This is rather a classic setup for the cockpit, but that's why I really appreciate it. Now 2 USB-C chargers here in the front. Shifting lever is more integrated, even flatter than here. 7-speed dual clutch transmission. Adaptive cup holders, also quite solid. The middle armrest here, so it automatically slides forward when you put some pressure on it. I think it needs to be fixed a little bit more. Maybe it is in the US version. And then, however, it's well attached to the sides and some more space underneath. Infotainment system here with this classic view, so I think it's relatively easy to control indeed. Here in the lights and vision, there you can go to exterior lighting, digital signatures, and then you can switch through the different signatures here. 4 when you have the matrix LED, 3 if you would have the standard LED, which are standard for the S3. What else? Then here the drive select, when you pick the drive select, there we go. Not only dynamic mode, but also dynamic plus is now available. Then you're already here. The engine is kind of like preloaded, more exhaust sound. But in general, here with the S3 now, with this facelift, there we go with the drive select. Once again, the RPMs are always a little bit higher than with the predecessor, with the pre-facelift. So they tuned the engine overall in a sportier sense. You can always go also for individual settings, for example, even for the torque splitter. Rear doors also have nice microfiber inserts here. Just the top part here is hard pack. And then the comfort is good, but then again, when a tall person is driving with these voluminous sport seats, the legs don't really fit with another tall person behind it. So there's not much space here in the A3 in the rear. However, headroom in the sedan, I hit the head on the ceiling when I lean backwards. If I relax my spine, it's okay. But if I put my spine up, I do hit the seating with my head. However, the seating materials here in the rear, and also with the stamped in, or this quilted structure, that is beautifully done. Really gives you these small cushions. I love these details. That's why I'm also a car nerd. So styling wise and comfort is good, but the legroom is the main issue. If you want more headroom, by the way, the hatchback would be a little bit better than in the headroom in the rear. As for the trunk here, of course, with the sedan, limited in height. But then you have a better length. But first of all, the width, about 1 meter or 40 inches. And then the length is also almost a meter or 40 inches, whereas the hatchback would end here at 80 centimeters or 31 inches. So this is like what you gain in length here in the sedan truck, but then again lose something in height. You can of course also fold the seats, but for that you have to actually go around and do it then from the rear like this. And this is an exclusive new color called Flaming Mint Camouflage. I'm just kidding, it is the camo paint here for the very first vehicle we were allowed to drive. The final one we have already just shown you, but yeah, this is just another example of sometimes we get inquiries like, can I buy it as it stands here right here? Would you like to have this one in this very paint with these wheels here? Tell me in the comments. And this one we're now going to drive. And we can directly take a spin. Let's use the launch control. Plop, that's 100 kilometers an hour, 60 miles an hour. Whew, super quick, especially with the launch control, but so controlled. Of course, then so much power is being sent to the rear axle. Maximum is then 50-50 distribution. Here for the launch control, the new torque split, of course, doesn't play a role, but it will now here in these corners. And I am in this new Dynamic Plus mode, and this Dynamic Plus mode makes it, even more power to the rear, and also enhances this torque split mechanism that I can fully use it theoretically up to 100% of the rear torque is sent to one wheel. And I mean, this is predominantly a front wheel based platform, the whole base platform. But first of all, we have this all-wheel drive system, and now with the torque split, you hardly feel anymore that it is actually a front wheel bias, because I feel now like the rear is coming a little bit around like it would be with a rear-wheel based all-wheel drive vehicle, for example. Like if you have a rear-wheel biased car, then you have an all-wheel drive. So really balanced in the handling, and now I accelerate out and I feel, this rear a little bit spinning around. It's not like it would be drifting instantaneously, especially when it's dry here, but here in this Dynamic Plus mode, you actually have already a Sport ESC. That means that the electronic stability program is already drawn back a little bit. Well, then let's put it to the test. Straight in the corner, outside. Really nice exit. Ooh, and directly over 1 kilometers an hour, 60 miles an hour. Although we're going uphill here all the way. Now it's pushing a little bit over the front axle. But then on the outside, as soon as I'm on the throttle, it's fine again. So you really feel that, especially due to this technology, you need to use the throttle when exiting the corner, and then you can make this vehicle here less front wheel biased. It's just that in that corner, when I'm still on the gas, I'm still feeling it. So you have to adapt your driving, a little bit to that, to the individual concept. So for example here, maybe I'm making a little bit tighter, and then here on the outside, yeah, that's really beautiful. Wow, really cool. And some viewers here who had actually the S3 or who bought it, we've been talking about the base RPM, so to speak, and here they kind of put the base RPM a little bit higher, so you're always a little bit better in higher RPMs or quicker in higher RPMs. Yes, that means more consumption, but at the same time it also means more instantaneous reaction from that engine. Whew, it's really cool how it goes uphill. Oh, it's a camel. Have you seen that? There was like a warning sign on the camel, and there was a camel on top of that. So that, yeah, like someone would have faked a photo or something. So we will always watch out for the camels here on the side of the road, of course. A little bit downhill. I love, by the way, the steering. So direct input, really crisp and precise. It is progressive now with this facelift, even more progressive. And you've maybe seen me going uphill. There was more camels.
Yes.
Oh yeah, there's camels. Oh, there's a small one. Well, is there a smaller one?
Yeah.
So now we have to slow down a little bit. So you always
And a big
get
one. And a
small. Oh. So now you get a little bit free camel entertainment. There we go. Oh, there's a small one. Look at that. Oh, they're really beautiful. So now we can also, for example, go back to the comfort mode. That the exhaust is also a little bit more silent. There we go. Oh. Look at that, how cute. So they're probably also not too keen on hearing the very loud exhaust notes, so then you can go back to the comfort mode. We are also equipped with the DCC here now, the adaptive suspension. In the comfort mode, we have then more comfort dampening. It's good, for example, also when the road is a little bit more destroyed. And when you're freeway and you're not disturbing any animals, then you can, for example, go to the dynamic mode, or once again in Dynamic Plus if you want the drawn back ESC, for example, and then you can play a little bit more with the vehicle. One more time, acceleration from standstill, but out of the corner. That's always a good test to see what is the steering doing, while hardly accelerating out of that corner, how controlled the vehicle is actually. Let's go. Look at that. Drop and 100 again. Super smooth. You see the steering wheel did not get out of control at all. Good distribution of power, and once again also I didn't feel any understeering, especially now when accelerating out of the standstill, because when you think about, you would have just a front wheel powered car or even front wheel platform with some all-wheel drive. You maybe then going into understeering, you're being directed a little bit, but here that doesn't happen at all, at least then here from standstill out of the corner. So really cool. Then you might ask yourself if you consider buying an S3 or an RS3, next to the obvious price difference. Here now with the torque split in the rear, does it still make sense to go for an RS3? Price performance wise, of course not. And yes, with that facelift that has been even stronger, that argument. However, you feel that the RS3 still gives you more power and more punch, especially when you have situations like you're going uphill, you stop in between a little bit, then you want to get going again. There, this additional cylinder, additional power just gives you a little bit more and easiness. Here, as long as you keep it in higher RPMs or in lower gears, for example, also with these shifting pedals that have been upgraded a little bit with this shiny element in here, this is all fine. Here, shift down yourself, for example, hit it, and you're absolutely fine. But if you sometimes get into a situation, you may be a gear too high or something, you're not in the Dynamic Plus mode, then you feel you are lacking power in comparison to an RS3, where it's just easier also from a low RPM perspective. So that is then the main aspect. And of course that the S3 gives you a little bit more everyday driving life comfort. So it's the better compromise, whereas the RS3 is of course the more extreme choice and then also the more expensive choice. And yeah, we not only have some camel viewing here for you today, also some cows passing the roads here, and yeah, as we know here, always taking care, comfort mode, silence, and we make freeway. There we go. I really have to say, I would take this vehicle exactly as it stands right here, Ascari blue on the outside, then the bright accentuations with the bright Audi rings, also with the bright wheels, the bright frames around, and then also with the microfiber seats. This is to me the perfect combination, not only for an S3, but I would take any Audi sedan actually in this very styling combination. I just love it. If the facelift is really necessary as for the changes exterior interior, I think you can very well live with a pre-facelift there. Crucial indeed, the torque split here at the rear that now comes for the S3. Before that was only unique to the RS3. So now the question is, yeah, the RS3 you would go for when you want the 5-cylinder and even more power. But here, of course, this is the way better price-performance ratio than if you compare it to the RS3. This is a performance review of the updated Audi RS3, that famous 5-cylinder. How good is it? What have they changed? And how different is it to the recently facelifted Audi S3, which you can also find here on Autogefühl. We're going to tell you all about it with Thomas and Autogefühl in 4K, full screen, full length. Let's go here with the new front mask that now leads over a little bit more to the headlamps. More black, high gloss black here, also wider here in these gaps inside the grille. The Audi rings, they are always dark for the RS3. In the S3 you could also still get bright rings. And I say it is rather better to go for the bright ones. This looks a little bit more sinister, but when you are in front of the vehicle, look in the back mirror and you look then to this dark mask, and with the dark rings, you can hardly see these dark rings. And Yeah, then you see, wait a minute, what brand is it? And I think when they are bright, it more looks directly, okay, that's an Audi, you know what I mean? Then also updated lamps here. You can get normal LED or here the matrix LED, and you can also set individual signatures. Here this is like the checkered flag signature, and I think that's of course fitting to that very vehicle. We have a strong red color, and we have the optional carbon fiber package. There, for example, we have these carbon fiber accentuations here at the side. The length 4.53 meters or 178 inches here for the sedan. It's also available as the hatch with 4.38 meters or 172 inches. And in Germany, for example, the hatch is really popular with the A3, the so-called Kurzheck, we would say, but some Germans nowadays say hatch to that one here. You have a more practical trunk opening, but yet again here the sedan has a more fluent form. To me, I like the sedan styling more, but it's a matter of preference. And of course this one here, it doesn't have the better access to the trunk, but the trunk itself is longer. So it's definitely pro and con. And from the weight distribution, the sedan is actually a little bit better because you have some more weight at the rear, and this is actually good for balancing things out. But yeah, will just play a role on the racetrack maybe. 19-inch wheels are standard, different designs here. This like this matte-ish black design here, for example. Massive brake calipers here, of course, performance brakes, and they have worked on the setup. On the suspension, you get an adaptive suspension as standard, which you can actively also control from the inside. And there's also an updated brake torque vectoring, that you have a distribution of the braking powers when getting into a corner. And then there's also a torque vectoring at the rear axle for acceleration, because power from front to the rear, and at the rear axle then it is then decided that there's more torque on the curved outer wheel. And first of all, it pushes you in the corner, then it pushes you out of the corner with these systems, so you can be quicker actually. And they also scored a new Nürburgring Nordschleife hot lap with that one. At the rear you have the updated tail lamps, and when you have the matrix LED, you also have cascading turning indicators, both in the rear and in the front. That looks pretty amazing. We also have here very accentuated rear lip, in this case then with the carbon fiber on the top and also in the lower part. If that's too much, you don't have to go for it. And also here with these vertical reflectors then here in the middle part of that diffuser, and you can also get an RS Sports exhaust. Yeah, but the Autogefühl fake exhaust police is there for you, because the outside is the exhaust tip, then the rear exhaust is on the inside. Under the hood, the big difference to the S3, which was also recently updated, 2-liter 4-cylinder there. Here in the RS3 you get a 2.5-liter 5-cylinder engine with 400 horsepower. Wow, look at that. Still transverse mount. It's a transverse platform with front-wheel drive and additionally all-wheel drive for the performance versions, for example. That's why you send also power to the rear wheels. And then here with the torque vectoring, you make it less front-wheel bias, and we'll see how much we can feel from that on the racetrack. 3.8 seconds is the acceleration figure here. Key fob, really nice. And here we have the bright Audi rings, the Lord of the Rings, and the RS for racing Sauron. And then here the door closing sound, actually quite solid. Yeah, like that. You got that, it was a joke, right? The Audi guys will probably call me for that. Then here inside of the doors, then yeah, it's like rather hard, I would say, maybe like a little bit structured. Then here we have the nice microfiber, and it's also perforated because the ambient lighting will shine from the background of that. I like this door handle here. You use 2 fingers and then you open it like this from the inside. It looks funny, yes, definitely, but I think it's a cool ergonomic solution actually. Then also nice window levers here with clicking sounds, 2 levels, 2 steps, and then here.
You hear it right now.
Yeah. That's the problem, what I always say, when there's no felt covering from the inside, then it sounds like this while driving also. That's the thing. Then RS3 entry badge, that looks cool. And we have a new steering wheel. You have everything dark here at this moment, but when you actually activate the ignition, there we go, then you have the backlit buttons right here, and you have two settings for the RS mode, like an RS button and here a left side performance button, right side RS button, and you can individualize them, what they actually mean for you to be able to switch to a very sporty driving mode directly then on the steering wheel. That's cool. There's also a microfiber steering wheel available that I would actually recommend. Then as for the seats, on the European market, you can get the microfiber here, which is pretty cool for the inside. This is here the bucket seat, and that's an option for the European market, and it's not available for the Northern American market. And actually, that's an advantage for our guys in the US and Canada, because this seat here, it looks amazing. No doubt about that, but it's really uncomfortable. And I think there are several reasons for that. It's really short. It's super narrow here in this area. I'm I'm quite tall, but I'm not the biggest guy. And if you think then if someone is a little bit bigger, maybe even, you don't really fit in the seat. And also, like the inclination, it is super high in the front, like from the angle. And that kind of like puts my spine, you know, like a scissor together, and it's super uncomfortable. So I cannot recommend this seat here at all. There is the base sport seat available. We can also use an overlay here. In the EU, again, available with a microfiber. I would go for that one. Sadly, once again, on the US market, they only offer animal skin. And that is Audi, from all the brands, together with Rolls-Royce, is the brand that's lacking most behind this development to make car interiors more animal friendly. And then here with 189, 6'2", still have enough headroom left. And yeah, besides that, seating position a little bit weird, but it's better in the normal sport seats, I can tell you. Then here, steering up and down, in and out. And you might have seen one of the most crucial points next to the Audi rings on the outside. By the way, for a German, sometimes a little bit critical to differentiate between wings and rings with R. So sorry about that. I do my best. Here, you can see the rings are really two-dimensional on the steering wheel. Yeah, and definitely when they are three-dimensional, you can feel them like in the previous generations. It just looks more classy. Cockpit overview, cleaned up, horizontal stress, nice sounds here also when I control the air vents, for example. Then we have the microfiber dash here. Although I have to say, from the microfiber quality, it could be a little bit better. Because it looks already a little bit older. I think they should apply a thicker microfiber surface to that one here at that price range. Then here, sliding down with this one, nicely dampened. And the screen, we hardly see that nowadays anymore. The screen here is integrated. It doesn't pop up like a huge thing on the top there. Still a nice integration. And also one of my favorite things, this is still a manual climate unit here with clicking sounds for fan speed and for the temperature. Also when you activate seat heating. Beautiful. I could do this all day, actually. Now Leah again thinks like he's completely out of his mind. Yeah, but that's what I do. So yeah, it's just awesome. The feedback on the sound and also on the haptic side you get when pressing this seat heating. And this is what premium cars are about, and not about putting everything in the screen and there's no feedback like car or no interaction between driver and car anymore. This is here still giving me the feel of, hey, they paid a lot of attention to designing a proper premium interior. And that's what I appreciate about these previous generation Audis and not like maybe the all new ones. That's what I think about it. Tell me your opinion. Then a lot of high gloss black here. There I would wish for an alternative to just have less high gloss black. This is interesting, by the way. This is like a volume control, which is a capacitive, and this is like less, and the other way around is more. So do you want to do that while driving? I doubt so. Dual clutch transmission. It's the shifting lever right here and P there. Two USB-C chargers in the front. Inductive charging pad is not cooled. So when I put my iPhone there, it just takes a couple of minutes it stops charging and overheats. So it either needs to be cooled, or what I usually prefer is don't use it at all. Use the cable connection for Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. Don't trust on the wireless one, and just put it like with the screen on the inductive charger, so it doesn't do the inductive charging and it's just everything doing with the inductive one. The normal drive select would be here in the lower part when I click it here in the lower left part, but it does give a nice clicking feedback. But here, for example, I pressed it twice now. At first it didn't appear, just in the second time it appeared, and then it appears just for a few seconds and it goes away. And I don't really understand that, not the best solution. However, here in the RS3, there of course it's, so to speak, no problem, because I have the buttons here at the steering wheel where I can directly hop to a sporty RS mode. Then we have adaptive cup holders here. They are good quality, so that's a nice build quality indeed. Microfiber cover of this armrest, slide it up, you can also do it forward, and some space underneath. That's really nice. So the overall build quality of this cabin is very, very good indeed. That's why I love it. Driver POV, once again, the two-dimensional Audi rings. Okay, not my favorite, as I said. Here then the cool buttons once again, here for the performance mode or for the RS mode. And you can individualize them here on the infotainment system, what you want to have then as the individual features for each mode. And the performance mode doesn't have so many settings. The RS individual mode has some more settings to set then, for example. Then the clicking feedback is actually quite nice on the steering wheel. However, also with illumination, but it is one capacitive #capacitive BS field. So one button field and then capacitive recognition of what you're actually pressing. The instruments are actually pretty nice, clear to read. I like these views, for example, here. You also have the map here of the racetrack at the moment, and this with a large RPM meter view. I assume going to show you different settings for that as well. And then we also have a head-up display here. Don't look at the fire extinguisher. I'm showing the head-up display. Yeah, it's always smaller on camera than it actually is. So here on the right side in the infotainment system, I do prefer this main infotainment view, basically these classic menus. But usually it starts up then with this, and this is, I think, what should I do with that then? It's kind of strange. I would always like to have this one actually as a startup. And here, for example, if you then go to the settings and then display and brightness and here Audi virtual cockpit, then you can, and this is here for the facelift, like this rev counter view, which I'll just show to you, but you can also go to runway. This is then maybe more racing alike. Now Leah is helping us with the performance view. There we go. Or the classic sport view if you rather prefer it like that. I like that one too, actually. So I would probably use this one, or then again this new rev counter view. Which one would you prefer?
I think the performance one.
The performance one?
Yeah.
This one?
Yeah.
So this then
It's different than the other.
Leah's choice for today. Rear seats. Here, first of all, hard pack material on the top part. You still have the nice door handles here that are kind of like, coming from above. So this is actually quite nice. Also very dramatic, dynamic design here. And also hard pack here in the lower part, everything. So at that price, I feel that should be a little bit more premium, shouldn't it? At least we have some microfiber right here. And then the rear seats, we have ISOFIX for the racing kits in the rear. You slide these on top and then you can also put them back again. We also have the nice microfiber pattern here on the seats, and I really have to say, it's more comfortable in the rear seats than in the front, at least when you consider these bucket seats here. Then headroom here with the sedan does exactly fit with 189 602, but nothing more. You can put down this here then for cup holders. Good quality. They are also adaptive for the rear. That's really nicely done. Yeah, but the legroom is of course the problem here in this compact segment, and this like the heart, I mean, it looks great here with the carbon fiber with these bucket seats, but it will be a little bit more flexible with the normal sport seats because they don't have this really hard background. You see, it does not really fit for my legs here. I have to spread the legs a little bit here that it fits somehow. 2 USB-C chargers here in the lower part than here. There's the middle tunnel, and can I also sit in the middle part here? A little bit harder, and yeah, definitely not recommend that. And here, as a comparison, the normal sport seats in the rear, then you have this recess here, so that fits better with the knees then. Still not much legroom, and also when you put the knees here to the side, then at least it's soft here, but it doesn't change the real length, but it's just better how you can put your knees like inside or then here on the outside. And the headroom with the hatch, by the way, here is actually a little bit better than with the sedan, but yeah, comparable, but it continues a little bit further to the rear. Trunk or boot, let's check it out here with the sedan. Typical sedan opening, closed off trunk. Then here the cabin trolley also fits in a vertical way. And here we have like a meter or 40 inches in width, also deeper, and then it's longer than with the hatch here. The trunk is also about a meter or 40 inches in length, and then here 44 centimeters or about 17 inches in height. Underneath, see here they have put the starter battery here, and this is also good for the weight distribution actually. And then to fold the seats we actually have to go around either here the ski hatch, just the middle part, this is possible, or then 2/3, 1/3 like this, and the total length then the front seat then is 165 in meters or 65 inches. Oh yes, and Leah discovered here this bag hanger you can fold down. Oh, and it's even dampened here when it goes back. Ooh. Here the hatch trunk. This was the sedan trunk here, and this is here about 20 centimeters or 7 inches less in length with the hatch. However, then you have this opening here, so this is then more practical. You can put in higher things and also easier. So this then, yeah, I think at the end of the day, maybe it's shorter, but also better usable here with the hatch. Welcome everyone. This is the Audi RS3 in the facelift. Woo. And we're in the performance mode, also with the ESC Sport, and this was your launch control here for today. Wow, great in the performance indeed. There we go. So this one does go very well. That 5-cylinder engine, this is of course then really different to an S3. You just have so much more performance there, and really nicely on the gas. Have a very precise steering feel. We also have here in this very race car then the Alcantara, or the Epica, not sure what it is actually more, but the microfiber steering wheel. Here also hard again on the gas, and it feels actually, let's say, a little bit loose, especially here in the ESC Sport mode, so you can play with the car a little bit. Here once again 150 kilometers an hour. They built here a small chicane in there, but this vehicle is very light and agile, so there's also difference to, let's say, bigger sports cars, or also when we have an SUV on the racetrack or something like that. This one here is really balanced in the handling, I would say. That's what I really like. And also, there we go, how you can smoothly get out of the corner again. That's pretty cool. So here, look at the steering angle movement I do, and then also how I get out of the corners again in the corners. There's a brake torque vectoring, and also then torque vectoring at the rear axle when accelerating. So here when I'm, for example, in the corner, and then at the exit of the corner, and when I'm on the gas again, actually, there we go. Oh, there was a little bit of, you know, from that engine. So the torque vectoring is actually enabling more torque on the curved outer rear, and it kind of like pushes me out of the corner. That's the thing, because this is here not like the A3, not like initially a rear wheel driven platform, so you have to do things to make it less front wheel biased. It's more hard on the gas and also hard on the brakes. Good braking performance, good feeling for the vehicle as well. Yeah, I really love this balanced and smooth handling, and that the car is really feeling light. So, I mean, we do test a lot of vehicles also on the racetrack, and my problem is that more and more vehicles are getting heavier and heavier and heavier due to all the technology they put inside, and that's why I really appreciate when the car is still not that heavy, you know what I mean? There we go. Of course, here in this performance mode I have activated, I always have a lower gear selected, so there we go. You can easier get out of the corner again, and yeah, I mean, we have the all-wheel drive here, but I really feel that we have enough power always on the rear wheels, and also with that torque vectoring, that it can get really in a sporty way out of the corner. And look at that performance here, 160 kilometers an hour, and here through the chicane speed. And you hear a lot of the engine, of course, and more than you would from the S3, but maybe also a rear cross traffic alert. That's interesting. Yeah, the assistance systems are still in this vehicle there. A little bit wet here from the night moist still on the track in this very morning here. Castelloli racetrack, it's like near Sitges in Spain, close to Barcelona. It's a very nice racetrack, and they also have a very fresh tarmac here, so you can get great speeds here. Wow, that is a lot of fun. Look at that. These bucket seats, they are holding me tight. Yes, so in that case they are really nice in a way. Then I have to say my lower back is already hurting, so I would say even if you're on the racetrack, I would still go with the normal seats than with the Dynamica, because I don't know, they are like too high in the front, and they're like folding my lower back lumbar area like a scissor in a way, you know. One more time passing Lea, she's taking some shots from the outside there. I asked her to join me here on the racetrack, but she said it's maybe not too good for her heart, and I also don't want to make her join me here on the racetrack, because I can tell you, being passenger on the racetrack is a horrible experience usually, because you cannot hold onto the steering wheel, you cannot really cope with all the G-force and so on. So as a driver, you know what you're doing, you feel what the next step is, and you can hold onto the steering wheel. That's why it's way easier than for a driver to be on that racetrack. Oh, there we go. So here in these tight corners, nice, a little bit on the pegs there, and then you feel that the rear is being pushed around just a little bit. And you also have a very safe feeling for the car, so that's a very good thing. You don't have to be like the most professional race driver to cope with this vehicle. That's really nice, definitely. Yes, really close then with the straight here, so you have to see that we don't get too much to the left side here actually. There we go. And I still have the very same feeling for the brakes also after these laps. That's pretty nice as well. There we go, close in the corner, open the steering wheel, on the gas. There we go, and yeah, you feel that they have set everything more on the sportiness with this facelift upgrade here. It's not that it would be a completely different car, and if you have the pre-facelift, no, you do not need the post-facelift in that respect. But you see that on the Nürburgring Nordschleife with their record lap, they could improve it by a couple of seconds, and that also means a lot in racing terms. So especially from the whole setup here, there's always an area where probably maybe a little bit traction loss from the red road or something like that. It's really interesting. But definitely you feel a little bit more spiced up, a little bit sportier. Pretty cool experience. What about some normal driving life? Well, you can also spice that one up. It's of course the main purpose of this vehicle, not really on the racetrack, although as you've seen, it does it very well there on the racetrack. And the first thing you notice, these optional bucket seats, which are, you have to say gladly, not available on the North American market. They are not really suitable for everyday driving life. Maybe so for the racetrack, yeah, this is like an advantage, but for the normal comfort driving, the normal sport seats will definitely be way better, especially if you're tall, because yeah, I feel like I'm totally too much caged in. I'm sitting too high in the vehicle. It's too short, too narrow in the lower part and everything. So I would definitely get the comfort seats then. Would also go with the comfort driving mode usually. Then here when you have some humps in the road, they are a little bit less forgiving. And if you consider the difference to an S3, they definitely paid attention that this difference is now once again a little bit bigger, because they kind of had a problem. Since the new S3 also gets the torque vectoring at the rear, it moved closer to the RS3, and then you might think, what do I need an RS3 for? Yes, that 5-cylinder engine, that would be the main reason. And now they set everything on a sportier and stiffer note, so it's quicker on the Nürburgring Nordschleife in the hot lap. And you also feel it when driving it normally, that an S3 has more performance, but you can more or less drive it like any other Audi A3 in your everyday driving life. Here the RS3, you start driving and you immediately feel that this is a sports car, and it is a difference, you know. So the S3, I would say you can drive without any, any bad compromise or something. So you do not lose comfort. With the RS3 here, you do lose comfort in driving, period. And you would go for that one if you don't care and you appreciate that it is that way sportier, and you hear when there's something on the road and so on, and you feel the road more. If you don't want that, get an S3, enjoy the performance there, and that you have the same comfort. If you want to feel every inch of the road and appreciate that sportiness also on your way to work, then it is the RS3 for you. And what I find really great is that it's also so smooth again in the driving, and even in the comfort mode, you feel the sportiness already a little bit, although the suspension is more forgiving. And once again, since this button down there, the drive select is really low, and then also you click it and it takes a while until that stuff appears in the screen, and to me that's 2 seconds, and that's it. And that's not really ideal. So here I'm really appreciating that I can just click the RS button on the steering wheel, then I'm in the sporty mode, and for example when there's the next motorway here and I want to accelerate hard on it, that's it. Woo! And that is a lot of fun. And one more click there if you want to have some more comfort. Then again.
Oh wow, it's so loud.
That's
wow.
fine.
Crazy.
That is also definitely a difference then to an S3. You have, of course, even more sound performance there. Wow. At the same time, you can go back to the comfort mode, and then here when the road is fine, it's also actually quite nice here on the motorway, and you can enjoy all of the normal modern features, like also a cruise control. It's set here with the separate column. Interestingly, this very vehicle is not spec'd with active lane keeping assist, so here it reacts pretty late because it's just a lane departure warning. But sometimes the active lane keeping assists are also a little bit annoying, and then maybe you even don't want that. What's pretty cool is that here on the favorite button, you can easily set here this activation or deactivation of the speed limit chime, which is a thing in the EU now, that you exceed the speed by 1 kilometer an hour and you get the 3 beeping chime. And you can easily deactivate it here also with setting it on the steering wheel. At least you do get some clicking feedback here when you click something on the steering wheel, so that's actually nice. Although the non-capacitive buttons that were before are actually more likable, I feel. So suspension-wise, here on the motorway, it's doing a great job, and that is also a very good feeling. You can also drive at high speeds on the motorways with a lot of fun. That's fine. I think the most limiting comfort factor are indeed these bucket seats, so it will be way better with the normal sport seats, and then if you can get it on the market, go with the microfiber. So this one will be the most comfortable setup. The steering also in normal driving life is really fantastic. It is really precise and it's not too hard. At the same time, it gives you enough feedback, and even in the comfort mode, here, see how I follow the road and the angle of the steering wheel almost copies the road. I would take it that way, and that's really lovely. So that's also something that what I felt earlier on the racetrack, that all the transitions between the corners, getting in the corner, getting out of the corner, is so extremely smooth, and I really love that. And at the same time, of course, even if you're on the comfort mode, you can at any time hammer the throttle and you have the performance. Holy moly. Woo. Yeah, it comes and all he is like, Oh my God, the heartbeat like spiked through the roof. And the interesting thing is really that you don't expect that when this vehicle is in comfort mode, you know, so it's kind of calm and everything, and then bang, hammer it in. And let's see, there is the tunnel. We can also shift down ourselves, of course. Yeah, that 5-cylinder is definitely more audible than the S3 4-cylinder counterpart. Here in the tunnel, by the way,
Oh, that's nice.
some ambient lighting in
Here
the
in the
lower area and also at the inside of the doors, for example. A consumption without racetrack, like normal driving cruise control motorway, like a ideal minimum consumption is like 9 liters on 100 kilometers, 26 mpg US, 31 mpg UK. Of course, a little bit worse each when you really use that power. In the Northern American market, it's all about the sedan. The hatch is not available, and this one starts at $62,000, 68,000 euros in Germany, for example, and the hatch is 2,000 euros less expensive. However, that's like the base thing. Of course, this one here is equipped with more extras, so you can easily add 10, 20,000 euros or dollars for extras, for example. So definitely not a cheap one, but I mean, you can also get these 2-liter 4-cylinders in the S3 or Golf R or something to really ridiculous prices. So then you might say, hey, instead of full specking the one below, I already get the 5-cylinder. That might be an idea you might want to have also. Yeah, what do you think about it? Tell me about your experience. How do you perceive the difference from the video RS3 to the S3?
So taking a look at all these individual models, really interesting for sure. I hope you enjoyed this as much as I did actually. When you think about Audi A5 versus BMW 4 Series Gran Coupé, there we took the 4 Series Gran Coupé because the overall impression was then better, was more fun to drive, had better seating comfort, some more better solutions, especially on the interior, and also the better engine, so more powerful, yet more fuel saving. Audi A4 versus BMW 3 Series, I think the previous generation A4 had some better solutions like a better user interface with these famous climate buttons. Also the seating was to me a little bit better actually, so there the result was not that clear. However, there again, the BMW 3 Series just scores with this driving fun. Steering feeling, however, is always better with the Audi, strangely, at least in this segment there. Audi S4 versus BMW M340i. Well, both have the 6-cylinder there, and it was almost a similar result. Yes, the BMW engine is actually better, but however, the Audi 6-cylinder is also pretty nice. You know that I'm driving one myself. But here it's more a matter of taste or preference. I think in the new generation there, the BMW 4 Series Gran Coupé had actually a larger gap to the Audi A5, especially when you drove them head to head. Interesting also the more compact models, BMW 2 Series Gran Coupé versus the Audi S3 and RS3. So there, of course, the BMW is somewhat in between these two models. The RS3, of course, if you think about the compact segment, so to speak, top of the pops as for the performance with this really cool 5-cylinder engine, and these three are all so much fun to drive. As for the performance, yeah, especially when you get out of the corners, the S3 is, so to speak, then the weakest of these. They are all really great in the handling. BMW 2 Series Gran Coupé is even more driving fun than the BMW 3 Series, so that would be a reason maybe to go for that one. And again, it's a front-wheel biased platform in both cases actually, so power is also sent to the rear wheels. That is maybe a thing you feel when accelerating out of the corners. And again, the price can be a little bit lower than if you go one segment above, but it also depends on the trim. So between these, I think it's also a very, very close match because they are all a lot of fun to drive and they're all still capable as for suspension for everyday driving comfort and so on. So I feel overall at this moment I would take a BMW 4 Series Gran Coupé. Why? Well, the sophistication in the drivetrain, the whole chassis and so on, the offering of space, and also if you look at the price-performance ratio when all of the different factors come together, It's also available with a fully animal-free interior, which is personally very important to me. And so overall, I would take the BMW 4 Series Gran Coupé from all of these vehicles here in this test as my favorite. Which one would be your favorite? Tell me in the comments and also join us for more comparison reviews.